Hey, all you cool cats and gamers! Welcome to Victory Lap, the GDQ hotfix show that highlights recent world record and personal best runs and the runners who made them happen. I'm your host, Nuclear, and tonight I've got with me Spacey L1 with their world record run of Sekiro, all bosses and all mini bosses. But before we jump into that, just a few announcements. Unapologetically Black and Fast submissions are open from now until January 3rd. Use command UBAF in chat for more information. So if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to press that like button on this video and subscribe to the channel. Also go to twitch.tv/GamesDoneQuick if you're interested in looking at our live content starting weeknights at 7 p.m. Eastern and weekends at 1 p.m. Eastern. With that, I'll go ahead and hand things over to Spacey so we can get into the run. Take it away.
Hey, good to be here, Nukes. So just to give some background on the run and the category. So this category is actually like a newer thing for this game, like relative to the game's only 3 years old, and I know that like in the grand scheme of speedrunning, obviously there's a lot older games and stuff than this, but it wasn't until like a year or two into the game's life that we actually had this category, all bosses and mini bosses. Because initially, I was around. I wasn't not in charge of setting up the leaderboards or anything, but I was around when the game came out and knew a lot of the people who made a lot of those decisions and took part in some of those. And basically, when the game came out, we knew we wanted, before it came out, like some any percent categories or like an any percent category, and then like an all bosses category, the way that the Souls games generally have. But then the game came out and we found out that there's like tons of mini bosses. And so it was kind of like a discussion, like, well, what do we want the all bosses category to be? Do we want to include mini bosses, or do we only want to include main bosses? And so like what we ended up doing at the time was we had two kind of all bosses categories. We had all memories, because memories are what you get for defeating main bosses. And then instead of doing like an all mini bosses category, we had all beads, because a lot of mini bosses give beads. But that excludes some headless and Shichimen mini bosses, and there's some other bosses that it skips as well, because if you miss certain mini bosses that are supposed to be timed, like you're only supposed to be able to fight them during certain times, like you can just buy them later at the end of the game. So you would skip some bosses like that. So some people weren't super happy with it. Honestly, at the time, the reason we didn't just do an all bosses and mini bosses category back then, in my recollection, was largely that we didn't want to fight headless and Shichimen at the time, because the game was very new and we were bad. I was definitely bad. But then a year or two into it, another runner by the name of Dan Flesh, who runs a lot of Souls games and stuff too. He's like a really good guy. But he basically routed and started running this category and said, guys, this is really fun. I think we should add it. And then so that's how this category got added. And then so I've run the other all bosses categories too. And then I've kind of moved to this one in the past like year or so. And basically, this category kind of like this game like was a little less active for a little bit when Elden Ring came out. And then a few months later, everyone kind of came back to this game. We had a timer change that cuts out black screens with our in-game timer here, because this is in-game time, not RTA. And so black screens are like little sections within the run that aren't like traditional load screens, but are impacted by, they normally would count towards in-game time, but they are impacted by your hardware. So we found a way to cut those out, but that saved a bunch of time off basically. And so I first got world record in this category basically just by like crushing an old time, because with the new timer and stuff, and then eventually got it down lower than just what was saved by the new timer. And then a Japanese runner by the name of Sudomo came and he took the record with some additional new strats and stuff. And then I learned those strats, and then I took it back. I got 109.03, which is what this time on the timer is, to beat his 109.08. But I really wanted to get a 108, and it's like a small thing, but I thought it would be cool to get the first 108 basically. So I was kind of disappointed even beating him that I didn't quite get the 108, knowing that he was also very capable of it. And then I got this run This run happened like the day of the Game Awards. So I was just trying to get, like, my friends and I in Discord, we always get together and we watch the Game Awards together, like in Discord. So I had like, basically I gave myself like 2 hours to get a run started. But I was getting like super tilted. Like I was having trouble getting out of early game. I was trying to get like an okay start out of early game. But I was like, at this point, when I started this run, like I was out of time, basically to be able to get another start. So I was just like, I'm just going to take this. And so that's where we start this today. So we start, we have to show the starting the new game in the video. And if you want to chime in at all, Nukes, that's completely fine. Like, any questions about anything? Not sure how
Awesome.
much.
Yeah. Also, yeah, chat. Feel free to ask questions. I'm not sure if Spacey is reading chat, but I will definitely be reading chat the whole time. So I am happy to relay any questions chat might have as well.
Yeah. So to start, we don't have our sword, and so of course, since we don't have our sword, we can't sprint. That's just logic, you know. So our fastest form of movement, whenever we don't have our sword or don't have our sword out, is going to be to jump. So I'm just spamming jump here, basically. We're stealthing our way through this first mission, just as a good ninja should. And then we just like hop our way up here. There is a funny thing when you trigger that, when you hit that trigger to start this dialogue, you can actually hit it and then still fall out, but like you get teleported up here anyway. So it's actually funnier if that happens. Then we're gonna go right back out the way we came, and we're gonna be fighting our first mini boss here. We already did. There's like a thing in our settings that we have for dialogue skip. Oh, actually, I'll talk about the tutorial prompts first. So the thing, this game has like normally unskippable tutorial prompts, but we made like a community decision early on. You probably just play this out. We made like a community decision early on that we were just going to allow those to be cut out of the game, like with a mod. So basically, my live split is cutting those. But the thing is, anytime I would still have a tutorial prompt, I'm just trying to push him like over here, like towards the way I need to go. Basically, that's a big thing in a lot of fights. That fight, we're basically just doing it as intended. But we're just like, anytime we would have a tutorial prompt, it will like duplicate or eat inputs, like depending. So that's something I have to be aware of. So there's some places I'm always going to get a tutorial prompt and I'll point them out when they happen. And it can actually kind of affect routing and stuff because of the way that like sprinting and stuff works. I think at the very first part of the game after this, I think it'll be a good place to explain how that works. And then this is Genny here. We're just going to die to him. We get to fight him a bunch later. But for the tutorial, the fastest thing is to just die to him. Like so, now finally we get our grappling hook, and then we're going to get to take our sword out and actually get to sprint now. So there's actually a tutorial prompt like right here. So I really have to kind of mash. I'm going to have to mash my grapple button here, because if I don't mash my grapple button, then my one, if I do like one grapple input, it can actually get eaten there and you'll fall and not grapple. So the tutorial prompts, even when we just allow them to be skipped with a mod, they can still be really annoying. And then this is another thing here. So like, you see there's kind of like a startup to the sprint animation. That startup animation like is, so dash and sprint are on the same button, which is true in like all other From games as well. But in this one, the dash actually triggers like when you press it, whereas most other From games, it triggers when you let go of it. So that kind of changes. It makes the dash more responsive, but it changes the way that like the run, like the sprint works. And so the big thing is that I'm kind of locked into an initial dash animation before I can, like jump out of it, for example. And if I like try to cancel the dash and then jump out of it, then I'm actually not going to get my longest distance jump. Okay, so this is one of the Shinobi tools. We'll be using it a lot later. We're going to pick up 4 of these. 3 we're only 3 we're actually going to use. But I just want to talk about a little bit here. Let me see if I can. All right. There, this is easier. Okay. So here the big thing is, this is another thing in terms of the, like when I have to pick up something that's like at the end of a corridor like that, or when I have to do it and then turn around, I have to be careful that I let off sprint because I can't pick up items while I'm sprinting. So I have to like let off sprint, but then I also have to be very careful about like how I turn around. Because if you try to 180 too fast, like out of a sprint, you'll get like a really slow pivot animation. So that's like a little thing that makes, there's like a lot of things in this game that kind of lock you into certain animations, and you really have to be aware of like how to minimize those or how to deal with them to get your character to actually do what you want. But this is our second mini boss here. So we can do like an aerial death blow from here, which basically knocks a health bar off. So the way boss health bars work in this game is they're up here. And then so this is the actual health part. And then he's got 2 death blows here. That means I have to death blow him twice. When I do like a stealth death blow, which you can get on mini bosses and some full bosses, I just like instantly remove one of those, essentially. And then so I only have to hit him, I only have to death blow him one more time. And so to trigger a death blow, I can either do like a stealth death blow like that, I can deplete the HP bar here, or I can fill this posture bar here. And so the way posture works is that when this yellow bar fills all the way, which I don't know why they made it two-sided just graphically, it's the same thing. When it reaches either end, basically, then they become vulnerable to a death blow. And like you still have to take it, but they become vulnerable to it. The difference between posture and health is that health, when you hit them directly, you deal health damage and also posture damage. But posture damage, even if they block you, you still deal posture damage. But if they parry you, then you deal less posture damage. So bosses can parry just like us. And so that's why you'll see here what I'm doing is I'm kind of trying to get him stuck in the corner. And then I'm kind of trying to dead angle him here to try and prevent him from parrying me. That big flash that he got was a parry. So I was trying to avoid that, but I got parried once, which isn't a big deal. The way the intended flow of the combat is supposed to be that you hit them until they parry you, and then it's their turn to do an attack, and then you parry them back. And we'll be doing some of that later, but for now, with the upgrades and stuff that we have, our best way of killing things is just to dead angle them. So I'm going to do some quick menuing here. Unlike the other Souls games, when you go in the menu, time pauses and stuff, but that also means we can't menu while running, so we have to limit like when and where we menu and stuff. But I need to equip the sugars here, and this sugar that we're going to use is going to make us semi-invisible, the way Souls games always have. So I actually make less noise too, but I will be seen if I get too close, and then I can actually stealth death blow this guy from behind by approaching from the side here. And then I'm just trying to avoid his quick grab. He always starts with this grab, which is a slower one, and now I'm just watching out for the quick grab. And then he staggers every 10 hits. So staggers are separate from health or posture. These games, like this game still has the poise mechanic that other Souls games have. Like a lot of people thought of like posture as them like converting poise into posture, but like mechanically it doesn't work that way. They still have poise, and that matters like for some fights a lot later. But basically every sword swing, there's the quick one. That's what I had to be ready for. And once he does it once, he'll be less likely to do it again for a while. Like most bosses work that way, where they don't like to spam the same attack. Once they do an attack, they usually will wait a little bit before they do the other one, with some exceptions. So,
I have a question in chat asking, what is a dead angle? You've talked about dead angles.
Okay, yeah, sorry. That's an old Souls term. Basically, they're like the bosses, they will kind of detect when you're trying to swing at them. So you can kind of swing away from them and then move at them, or you can like angle in such a way that you like just barely clip them, where they basically won't detect that you're attacking at them, and so they won't try to block you. They will have a lot of opportunities for me to show that more later, because that's like a big part of the run, actually, especially when we get one of our big tools later. But Yeah, dead angling is a common Souls term. It means in the older Souls games, it meant to hit somebody where they don't have like block, where like they would be blocking, but you could hit them from the side basically, and it would hit through their block. So that's kind of the way I'm using the term here. Is I'm hitting through their block by targeting just barely the side of them. But I just wanted to mention here another thing that's going to become a big theme of the run. This is a mini boss over here. He's running away. He doesn't know where we are, but we're going to fight him later. But I'm turning my camera down here because there's a gunman up here. And gunmen in particular, but just kind of in general as well. Enemies, so it's like a common thing in a lot of games where when enemies aren't on screen, they'll be rendered differently. And in some cases, they'll be animated or behave differently. This is one such example where the gunmen in particular, they will fire at you less often. They will be slower to aggro on you. And they will also be less accurate if you don't put them on the screen here. So I'm deliberately looking down here so that this gunman up here will not start his shooting animation. See there, he's just now starting to load his gun. So that's a big part of the run too. But now we're coming up to the hardest skip in the game. So I've been running against these splits obviously, so I know like where my time losses are, but I don't necessarily remember exactly how I losed all that time. But basically this skip is really hard, and this is another thing we're going to be doing a lot. We call them just late jumps like that. Yeah, see, that was like a bad late jump. Actually failing it that way is a good example too. I'll point it out once we retry here. So now I have to block this guy. Normally, like, I'll do like 2 attempts and then just 2 attempts of this and then just reset. Because it is like the hardest trick in the game, but it is at least early. So, okay. So I'm wall kicking here. Basically, you could just run off ledges and jump like super late. So we just call them late jumps. I know a lot of other speed games, they've taken to calling it like coyote time. But it's how difficult it is to do late jumps depends on the surface, because there's like these invisible walls that have like specific properties. They kind of look like this when you turn on the model viewer. They'll like look like that. And the way these walls work is that normally you can sprint through them, but you can't like walk off of them. But if you sprint and then try to jump off of them and you're not like at the exact right spot, like I don't actually know how many frames like it is. It's clearly more than 1 though, because you can get different kinds of late jump. But it'll snap you back here and it won't let you do the late jump basically. So the first time what happened was I barely got the late jump. So I moved over this line, but the wall tried to snap me back and it stole a bunch of my momentum. So I couldn't actually make it far enough to make the jump here. And the reason I need to get really far, this skip would actually be very easy if not for the fact that they kind of tried to stop you from doing this. So there's an invisible wall like up here that blocks me from jumping from way up high. Because otherwise I could jump from like way up here and make it and it wouldn't be that hard of a skip. But I have to get far enough that I can wait until I'm below the invis wall and then jump like that. And so that's the hard part of this skip. That part is not even a late jump, but yeah, you'll see it like an example of an easy late jump, like in just a little bit, relatively speaking. But so normally I would have reset that too, because I failed it that specific way. It was like a really slow way to fail it. But again, this particular day I had like no time. I had no more time to do runs. Like I was already probably going to be eating into the pre-show, so I was like, I'm just gonna keep going.
I have a question in chat asking, is there a difference in keyboard and mouse versus controller in high-end play, or is it just a preference thing?
So it's more of a preference in this game. I actually use keyboard and mouse for some specific tricks. So in most Souls games, the way it works is a keyboard and mouse is virtually mandatory for specific tricks. But most people play on controller most of the time. And some things, because of the way the menus and stuff work, controller's kind of easier. But you could do full keyboard and mouse. You couldn't do full controller. In this game, you could probably do full controller. I think there are some other runners who don't use keyboard and mouse at all in this one. But I like keyboard and mouse for some things. And the main reason I actually like it in this one. So normally the reason you would use keyboard and mouse in other Souls games is because with that you can hit W and go straight forward. And that's a big deal for certain specific setups. But this game doesn't actually have too many setups that are that detailed. It's a lot more of stuff that's kind of by feel. So it's not as necessary. But so the way that I play is I have like my mouse and keyboard on my lap here, and then I normally would have my controller here, and then when I switch, I either like switch during like a grapple or some like animation that I'm locked into. I'll put the controller down and keyboard and mouse and then pick it back up when I get a chance. But a lot of people do that. Not everyone does though. And in this game, it is optional, definitely. So now we're coming up to Gyobu here. I'm entering this arena in a specific way because I need him to do a specific attack pattern, at least to start with. So he'll come right up against this tower when I enter the arena that way, but he won't like charge at me immediately and smash it, because he can break this tower and then you can't do the skip. You have to like reload the area. Like you can't even quit out and reload. You have to like warp back to some place and run back. It's just like, it's dead run if he breaks this. So I have to make sure he doesn't break that. And then from up here, I can do a late jump. So the way this surface works is it's kind of strange. Like it kind of snaps you to the ledge if you jump like in this corner, but if you like go off and around, it doesn't. But at the same time, if you hit like too hard in this corner and you just jump late enough, you can still make it from here. So this is a relatively easy late jump. So I'm going to go up here while he runs away, and see I went around the corner like that. And then I'm going to hop over here, and he's going to run at me. I think I get a bad attack here. No, I get a good attack, okay. And he just throws himself right off the edge there for us, which is very cool of him. And then so here I had to count down a little bit there. I'm going to lose a ton of time. But I had to count down a little bit there, because if you trigger the idle too soon, then it like kicks you off when you get his item pop-ups for beating him. So you have to wait. Like I count like 1 Mississippi through 3 Mississippi and then 4 and then do it. And that's my like head timing. But so we got a memory there, and then we used it immediately because memories boost our attack power. So we're going to be using those like pretty much as soon as we get them. But also interestingly, when you use a memory, it refills your health, which just sitting at the idle in this game doesn't refill your health normally. So that's an interesting change that they made that like wouldn't ever come up casually really, but it's convenient for running. Because I did have damage there since I failed double canyon skip once. And then we're coming up on bowl. Now we're picking up another sugar here. So these sugars boost our attack power. And this one's a fairly simple, it's just a 12.5% boost to attack power. So I'm going to add that right now. And then I'm going to be again using my camera to affect like the aggro distance of some enemies. So I'll try to... So Bull is over here. I'm deliberately not showing him, obviously, because I don't want the guys by him. So there's Bull over here, and he's angry. And then there's 2 guys. I'll draw the 2 guys here. There we go. So they're like over there. I don't want them to aggro because I want them to kind of stay where they are so that they both get hit by Bull immediately when he charges at me. If I look at them, then a lot of the time they will start running at me, and then when I go to parry Bull's initial charge, he'll miss both of them or one of them, and that would be bad. But so I gotta kill this dude first, but I'm keeping it down. I'm looking for this particular rock. It's funny how much speedrunning is like memorizing floor geometry, but a lot of speedrunning is memorizing floor geometry. And then see these 2 guys get bopped immediately because they didn't see me. And then I parry him immediately, which causes him to turn around. So one thing that's interesting about Bull is since his horns here do fire damage, elemental damage goes through my block. Normally when you block or parry, you negate 100% physical damage, but elemental damage will still damage you through it, which is weird. It discourages people from parrying this particular boss a lot, but the fight is way faster if you parry. So we're just going to try to kill him faster than he can deplete our health. And then so I'm trying to hit him in the head as well. A lot of the beast enemies take more damage if you hit them in the head. And that trade at the end was kind of bad, but I was trying to kill him. We'll see it again with another bull, but you can also, if you kill them with an attack, as opposed to with a parry, you can also jump kick them to cancel his like death animation, or like get a faster death animation basically. But since I got knocked down there wasn't enough time for me to do it and still save time. So I just let him fall. So, like, we're 15 seconds behind here. I should have saved 6 seconds on Gyobu, basically, but I missed a lot failing that. So I lost, like, 24 to my best segment there. So I'm like, all right, well, this is fine. I maybe would continue this normally anyway. Then we had to kill that guard to get the key to this gatehouse, by the way, which gives us our second prosthetic tool. I'll explain what the prosthetic tools do once we actually get to using them. And then we're going to see another mini-boss fight where we're just going to be dead angling. We get some very powerful tools later in the game, and we also get some upgrades that boost the damage we deal when we parry, basically, because parrying also does posture damage to enemies. But again, we don't have any of that. And that's another like little thing too. I waited until I was like really close to him before I triggered that stealth death blow, because then it kind of like when it rockets me towards him to give me the death blow, it kind of pushes us both closer to this corner. And ultimately what I'm doing is I'm trying to hit him in the corner here. And I got parried once there, but otherwise this fight went okay. So now he's in the corner. So there's an old strat where you would jump up here and like lure him over to the corner, but it's faster to just beat him over into the corner if you can instead. But it's harder. It's a lot harder, but it's a couple seconds faster. And then we go down into here. We're gonna grab an idol, and then we're just gonna head back to like do some menuing stuff, basically. Oh yeah, and there's 1,000 coins right here. Most people don't fight that guy that we just killed really, really early in the game, but it's really convenient for routing. And like, there's just 1,000 coins right there, which is like all the coins we need to grab for the entire run, basically. Like, we're gonna loot some other ones for free, but that's the only time we need to spend getting money, which is really cool. And then we warp back here, and we got to go talk to Ishin in this tower here. This tower is kind of funny. You do have to do that. You do have to do this. If you don't talk to him at all, you can't actually continue the main quest, so they force you to come back here eventually. But we need to say no to his quest because we don't want to do it right now, which is funny that they make you talk to him, but they don't make you take his quest. If you do take his quest, that's like a minute time loss because you can't like untake his quest once you get it, and he won't let you continue until you do it. So I've lost runs to that dialogue box before, but eventually I learned that you can actually just hold down to make sure you always pick the right option there. So now I just hold down during that to make sure I don't lose runs to it. But then I sold our coin pouch, and then I bought our third and like the only other one that we're going to use, prosthetic tool. And so we can go talk to Sculptor now, and we can equip those. I'll explain dialogue skipping now too. Actually, well, I'll wait a little bit. So you get the esoteric texts there. Esoteric texts are what give you skills. So just to explain, because the game never tells you what triggers these. But the first text we got, you get for gaining a skill point, which you'll see, like, anytime I gain experience, you'll see it pop up in the top right. But if you get one skill point, then you can get the esoteric text for talking to him. And then if you turn in 3 prosthetics, you get the prosthetic text as well, which we'll also use later. So it's important that we get both of those, basically. And then we'll loot some spirit emblems for free. In older routes, we would actually buy some spirit emblems too. The spirit emblems are down in the right-hand corner here. Spirit emblems are used for certain special attacks, and then they also power our prosthetics, which will go here once we actually equip them. But we have them set so that we can equip them, but we haven't actually equipped them yet because we'll do that later when we go into the menu. But so like routing these emblems is important. Basically, every time you kill a mini boss and only a mini boss, you get 15 emblems back. I don't know why full bosses don't give you emblems, but they don't. So eventually we'll build up a surplus. But there are some points in the run where you can be really low if you don't buy any at the beginning, and they're cheapest to buy at the start. So this is another. So we used to buy a bunch of emblems, basically like 50 to get us started, but you can actually skip them and just don't screw up, basically. So there's a gunman. He's kind of blocked by my splits, but he's here. And we didn't kill him. We're gonna try to kill this boss in the corner here. Before that guy aggroes at us and shoots us. And the way we're gonna do that is actually by manipulating him with our camera. So we're not looking at him, but then once he starts to turn red, we are gonna look at him. So now you can see he's turned like this way. That's because when his little aggro triangle here is in the yellow and starts to fill with red, if we look at him, then he'll go into his searching animation where he kind of turns back and forth like, what? Mod check? But if you don't look at him, he actually won't do that animation. So he will just stay staring directly at us dumbly if we don't look at him with the camera at this part here. So we actually need to look at him to make him do the animation to look for us, which actually makes him take longer to find us, which means we have enough time to do here. So this triangle, that's his aggro. So now he's aggroed, but the boss is dead. And then I look at him again. I kind of wanted him to shoot earlier there. Yeah, it's easier to avoid that gun if he shoots at you. That gunshot if he shoots at you while you're doing the death blow, because then you're just immune to damage. So that was like fine. But I didn't have a lot of time to save there. Oh, that's the other thing is she can grab. She'll do like the grab at you. You can parry the grab, but you only get 2 hits. You only get 2 attacks in before she actually triggers the grab. So grab is just slower in general to get because you can't just keep hitting her through it. So sometimes she grabs a lot, sometimes she doesn't grab like at all. And ideally you just don't want her to grab. Then we grab this idol for later. I'm gonna run by this chicken. I hate this chicken. This chicken's annoying because he can body block you. Yeah, which I had to like kind of jump around him there. Usually you could just zip around him.
Does he ever knock you off that branch?
Yeah, exactly. So this another thing that they did in this game. So the way that the game is balanced is that like basically your block is a very powerful tool, because you just can negate all physical damage and you don't have to time anything to negate physical damage. Like when you just block, you just don't take any physical damage. You only take posture damage down here. And if you take too much posture damage, you will get guard broken and you're like super vulnerable to attacks. Basically, you take a lot of damage and you're knocked down on the ground. But otherwise, like, you're not taking a lot of direct damage as long as you block things. So to kind of compensate for that, or to try to compensate for that, all sorts of random attacks and stuff, just taking regular damage if you do get hit without blocking, will just put you in all sorts of crazy animations. So you'll just get like if that chicken does a jumping like attack while you're jumping and he hits you while you're in the air, then you'll just go like flying. Because they really want you to be punished for getting hit when you do get hit, because you mostly shouldn't get hit. And so we grab these snap seeds here. We'll use them later. Then we also picked up Yasha Sugars. So Yasha Sugars, they give us double the damage boost of the Akos, which are the light red sugars that we've already used, but they cut our max health in half. And it's important that they cut their max health, that our max health specifically in half and not our current health, but we can talk about that more later when it becomes relevant. But it's a 25% damage increase, which is enormous for damage buffs in like these kind of games, like in Souls. The way Souls games tend to be balanced, and this game is balanced. That's a huge boost. So those are a very hot commodity. And then this is a skip as well here. We're gonna jump up here. You're supposed to have to go like around to the side here and do this whole path. Like you can just run through it, but you can also just hop up this tree. The difficult thing about this particular branch, I might even screw it up here. I don't remember. I know I lose like 5 seconds in this split, but I don't remember if it's to this. But so I'm going to draw for you the shape of this in the collision viewer. This tree is actually shaped like this. So all this out here, this has no collision. Only this little narrow part here has collision, and it gets narrower into like a little point here. And then this is all just visual. So I need to land like here, basically. Very close to the knob. And then I need to turn around like in that very narrow space and jump up here. So like doing it, like it's not terribly difficult. Like you could definitely do it just by like seeing that and then trying it a bit, but like doing it fast 100% of the time is annoying. And then this boss is just kind of meant to be like a joke boss. It's meant to be difficult to get to him, but it's not, because we did that parkour thing. But then like once you get there, you're just supposed to beat him down basically. And that is what we did. So now we're going to run through this area. There's like a bunch of guys that just pop out, but none of them can really catch us. There are like hands that will come up out of the ground when you run over here. That's why we get the... Oh yeah, I haven't explained this symbol either. Like if you haven't played the game, that red symbol that pops up there, that means the game calls it perilous attack. It basically means that they're unblockable. However, sometimes attacks that are unblockable can still be parryable, so that's important to know. Like thrusting attacks are a type of unblockable or perilous attack, but you can parry them. Sweeps, on the other hand, that like hit low, you have to jump, you can't parry those. However, this is kind of just this doesn't really come up, but if you get knocked down in like one of those animations that I talked about earlier, if you hit like X or circle, you'll do like what the game calls a safety roll in some of the loading screens. And a safety roll, for whatever reason, gives you like super omega iframes, and you can safety roll through a sweep attack, which makes no sense. But basically, nothing can hit you when you do the safety roll. I don't know why they coded it that way, but they did. There are even some grab attacks that you can even parry, which is weird, but not all of them. Most of them you can't, but some you can. It's very strange. Like the little short guys that jump at you if you've played this game in Senpo. I'll point them out later, but you can parry their jumping attack, their jumping grab for some reason. It makes no sense to me, but you can. It's also funny because the game explicitly tells you that sweep attacks exist and that thrusting attacks exist. It doesn't quite explain grabs the same way as like a type of perilous attack, but they mostly are, but then they have like weird inconsistent properties, so I don't know. It's strange. And then this is like a kind of a skip. I'll try to pause here. So you're meant to crawl under the house back there. And the way that you can kind of tell that is that there's like the collision on this branch here is like, it's like this, it's like square. It's not shaped like the branch at all. It's just kind of a square wall that extends all the way out here, which suggests to me that they don't want you doing the thing that we're about to do. But we can totally do the thing we're about to do, and we're going to. But they have certain types of collision, like invisible walls that they'll put in some places that don't let you wall kick off of. And that one will let you wall kick it. So like they don't care that much, apparently. But they do kind of care. And we just got
That's so cool and wild that, yeah.
Yeah, we got our like tool to let us see like collision and invis walls and stuff like really early in this game. So it was very fun to just like very early on, and like we got to see like so much and just like, oh wow, this is what they put here. Or like the leg assist stuff. Like the game never tells you that leg assists exists, but you could physically see where they are and when you turn on the event viewer, which is like really, really handy and stuff. So we picked up confetti there. We'll explain confetti later. So there's a boss. There's a boss over here. We're ignoring the boss right now. We're entering from the side here. And we will see why in a sec. So we are going to stealth deathblow this boss. So the snap seeds that I'm using here, snap seeds do damage to her because they do damage to illusions or like delete illusions in some cases. And she's an illusion, which is like in this form, which is a cool like lore thing. But it also, more importantly for our purposes, because she did take damage here. We don't actually care about her damage. We just care that it like moved her backwards. And then we're going to very sneakily force her to keep stepping backwards here with these very stealthy ninja firecrackers here. And then we can leap off of this. And she's vulnerable to stealth death blows from above specifically, for reasons that will become clear later. But yeah, so we can push her back and then leap off of that. That trick's not too hard. You just enter from the corner like that and she won't see you. The only thing about it that's kind of difficult that you have to know is that if you let her like reset in between your seed pops or your firecrackers, she'll step forward again. So you have to spam it. And you also have to be like making your way over to the pillar there to actually get it. But there are items you can pick up called ashes as well. So if you come here with like 3 snap seeds, like a bunch of like emblems for your firecrackers, and you have like a bunch of those ashes, you can just kind of stay back there and you can just keep like spamming her with stuff and move her really far back, and then it's super easy. But obviously in a speedrun we can't just do that. And then so now we can go fight Genny here. And yeah, we're just using our memories every time we beat a boss. Anytime that we don't just do that, I'll make a note of it. But most of the time we're just doing that because it's a pretty insignificant damage buff. Yeah, so here, like these grapples are kind of difficult. Not super difficult, but you have to like, most places in the game you could just kind of spam grapple when you're grappling, but not here. you have to like actually aim and time your grapples or you'll get the wrong grapple point. I get hit there, that doesn't matter. Okay, so this trick, so you're supposed to have to go like a long way around. There's like multiple ways to get up here. But the one that we're going to use is there's actually wall kickable collision from this that kind of extends down a little bit past here. So I'm like drawing it on screen there, kind of what it looks like. And then so what we can do, because we're jumping out of this little like triangle area here, is we can jump out. But then the trick to this, like this isn't difficult, but it takes some doing to get the muscle memory because it is very weird. But we're going to hold out and then we're going to do a wall kick. And I'm actually buffering the wall kick as soon as I jump. But then once I get the wall kick animation, which I'm actually getting off of this wall behind me, then I'm going to reverse my control stick. And so we're going to wall kick in the direction of the collision that we are wall kicking off of, which obviously you're not supposed to be able to do. So that's kind of what it looks like. You can see I kind of, like it looks like I'm kicking over here because of the way the animation plays, but I'm actually kicking off of something behind me. So it looks like we're kicking off an invisible wall that happens to be over here, but it's actually an invisible, it's just part of this collision that extends really far. And we just wall kick off the back of it, but reverse ourselves to get the jump up here, which is pretty cool. There's like tons of ways, unintended ways to get up here faster, but that's a cool one. And then we can jump off the fish there and trigger this fight. So here I'm running and then I'm waiting. I'm looking for like basically between these two on the ground here, and then I'm going to use my Divine Confetti. So to explain the way Divine Confetti works, Divine Confetti is a fairly specific buff. It's meant to be used for what the game calls apparition enemies, but you can kind of think of it as like undead, basically. But they let you deal normal damage to undead, but to like even to standard enemies, they give you a buff to your health damage, not your posture damage, but your health damage. They give you a 20% damage buff to your health damage. And they stack with the sugars. So the way that buffs work in this game is that you have your weapon buff that goes on your weapon, and then you have your like kind of body buff, like your sugar buff. So you can only have one sugar active at a time, and you can only have one weapon buff. But candy and these here are separate, so we can't have both of those. Although we don't have the Yasha to spare here. So it looked like I used the sugar later, or used the confetti later than I said, but that's just the time it takes for the animation to actually come out. I hit the button like where I drew. And then so what we're going to do to dead angle him is we're going to bait him over into this corner. That's why it's important, by the way, that I use the confetti where I said, because if you get too far away from him, he'll shoot at you from far away, and we need him to run at us, but still get stuck in the corner. So I'm doing like 5 hits, and then I have to like turn around to the left on the last hit, because you have a 5-hit combo in this game. And if I don't do that, then my last hit won't hit him, and I need to keep him stun locked here. So this isn't too difficult once you get it, but it does take some practice to get this dead angle without him falling out here. So he's got 2 phases of this, and then he will teleport himself out of the corner for his last phase. And the only thing here is he doesn't always jump like that, and also if he jumps like that during certain parts of his animation, I can knock him out of it with my attack, but it's harder to cancel him out of it depending on when he does it. And then so for the last phase, I'm going to pop the Yasha sugar here that you can see I've equipped, and then I'm going to turn myself around, and that will cause him to miss me with that initial thrust attack. He will always thrust like that and react on reaction to you using an item like that. And then I get double lightning here, which is really good. Oh yeah, so the lightning... Yeah, so... Actually, I can explain it while this is happening. The lightning is a mechanic that comes up with certain bosses. Basically, they'll shoot lightning at you. If you jump, then you can get hit by the lightning and then send it back. If they hit you on the ground, you just take a ton of damage, or in this case, die, because we're not upgrading our health at all this run. But if you jump, you can get hit and send it back. The game tells you you have to block it or parry it to send it back. And while you do get a slightly faster animation if you parry it, you don't actually have to send it back, because we don't even have midair block unlocked on this character yet. So we couldn't. We would parry it if we could, because it'd be faster, but... Or at least for the second one, it'd be faster, but we can't. So we just have to get hit. You just take the arrow to the face, which you can actually see sometimes. And you can still just send it back. It doesn't matter. You do take damage on doing a lightning reversal, even if you do it correctly and parry it because of the elemental damage, but it's generally balanced to be an insignificant amount for that part of the game. And then this is where we're just using the memory from Genny here as we do this dialogue stuff. Okay, so the dialogue skip I will now explain, because you've probably noticed by now that we're going through this dialogue faster than normal. What we did is, what we found this, by the way, like, I don't know, with like 2 years into the game's lifespan. But if you turn off subtitles, and only if you turn off subtitles, when you hit start during somebody's dialogue to cancel somebody's dialogue, it counts the dialogue as read, like as in already you've read it, and so you can skip through it by start canceling over and over, which is weird. And again, you have to have subtitles disabled, which is why we have subtitles disabled. Like, surely that's some kind of oversight. I don't know why they'd put that in on purpose, but it's like a crazy amount. It saves like almost a minute. Finding that is actually how I got All Beads record. The last time I got All Beads record was because I found that, and just I'd say I beat the old world record by like a minute, which is funny. But yeah, that's like a weird thing.
Did you say that was pretty recent, that find? Or
it was like a year ago now. But
okay.
like, yeah, the game had been out for 2 years before we knew that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just so funny.
Such a silly thing to find out that long into like a speedrun's life.
Yeah, we're doing another late jump here. So there was no invis wall there. So this is an easy late jump. But this is still like a fairly easy skip once you get the hang of it. But it's compensated for by the fact that we have to wall kick here, and you have to get a lot of distance. Basically, it's right here is where we're aiming. If you wall kick off of this corner here, you get a weird animation that you get in some places where you'll do the wall kick, but you'll like just get teleported down like an inch or two, and that can make you miss it if you wall kick in the wrong part. So you want to wall kick like a little past this if you can, or like higher up so that you avoid that corner. But there's just like a hole in the collision here. So you see I waited till I was past the corner. And then I can go, and then now we have air swim. I think it's pretty common knowledge at this point that we have air swim in this game. It works the same as it does in a lot of other games, like Spyro and stuff, where like water isn't coded as a volume. It's like a plane that triggers you in and out of swim state. So if we catch the edge of a plane like that out of bounds, then we can go down through it and then just swim out wherever we want. Some caveats, though, with our particular air swim that limits it. Is like, one, we can't kill bosses like this because if you can't do a death blow on a land enemy when you're in swim state. It just won't let you. But also, if the game detects you swimming in a place where it like doesn't think you should be, basically if it's a different loading zone than where you got your swim, the game will insta-kill you. And it doesn't matter how many revives or whatever you have, the game would just kill you straight to death. So like if I go too far in here, like I will just die. The ways we can circumvent that, one is here. I'm going to go into some other out of bounds water. So now the game is like, oh, you got your swim here. That's fine. Then I'm going to swim through this particular area here to load this next area. And then similar here, this is the other way, very conveniently, that we can show right here, that we can change where the game thinks we're swimming. It now thinks we're swimming in this area because we just quit out and loaded in close to collision. But if you're too far from any collision when you do this, basically, it's a little more complicated than that, but essentially, the game won't save your position properly. And when you load back in, you'll just get like a 45-second black screen, and then the game will kill you. And you can't do anything about it, because basically nothing's loaded in. So we're swimming through the mountain here. We're going to go kill Robert here. So normally you're supposed to have to run through this area. You're supposed to have to fight this guy. You are supposed to throw him off the cliff, but you're supposed to doing it by death blowing him to push him off the cliff. But we can actually bait him off here as he tries to path to us. Which saves time, obviously. And then swimming is also just faster in general. Not only can you take better lines, but swim speed underwater is about 50% faster than your normal movement, like your sprint speed. So you just move faster, you can take better lines and all that kind of stuff. But you need a way to get out of swim state, which we just used there. And we'll talk about other ways to get out of swim state when we come to it. And then we're also going to kill this guy right here too, because these are the only two mini bosses in this area. So we're just going to get them both while we're running through. And we're gonna do a quit out abuse here. So this is just what it looks like. We just basically fight this boss kind of casually. We just know what his parry timings are, or his combos. But then we quit out and reload here. So in the old Souls games, there was a thing we did a lot where you would run someplace and you'd have a bunch of enemies chasing you. So you would just quit out and it would despawn the enemies. Apparently they didn't like us doing that. So in this one, they made it so that when you quit out, if you have aggro, so like now that guy's aggroed on me. I want to see if these guys show up. Oh, they're not on camera, that's fine. But yeah, if you've got enemies aggroed onto you, then it won't save your position on the ground, but it will save the game. That's another thing that's important to know about the way that like from games function, is that whether the game saves your position is like separate from like progress saved, because it constantly saves your progress. But it doesn't always save your position in certain places. So we can take advantage of that basically to keep the game from saving our position, and then we can quit out, warp back to where we want to go. And so that's what we did there. Though it's funny, they tried to keep us from abusing quit outs a certain way, and then we just abuse it a different way because of the fix they put in specifically. And then we used another invis sugar there, the Gotchian sugars, because we're going to use that to solve this puzzle boss. The first monkey is invisible, so you're supposed to not know that he's following you, but he just starts right behind you, so we can just hit him. This monkey is just really loud, so we're just going to stab him, because loud is weak to stabbing. We can firecracker that monkey to stun him. I mean, firecrackers makes sense for stunning him because he's the monkey that hears really well. But firecrackers actually will stun or deal posture damage like that to any kind of beast enemy. So all the monkeys actually get bodied by firecrackers if you get close enough to him. And then this guy here, he's invisible, or he's not invisible, but he's the one the monkey who sees really well. But doesn't have eyes in the back of his head, so we just stab him in the back of the head. So there's like it's a weird kind of puzzle boss because there's like different ways that you can deal with each of them. Like the blind monkey, you can just lure back into a dark room up there, and he'll lose you instantly. The hearing monkey, you're supposed to use the bell that was there that we kind of ran past, and that like stuns him once you bait him to a certain area. And then the orange monkey, you just kind of have to sneak up on him because his thing is that he's loud and will alert the other monkeys if he sees you, but he himself isn't particularly alert. We're going to grab some, here we go, skills here. So this, if it looks like I'm doing this menu kind of slow, it's because there's like a ton of menu delay in this menu specifically. From games are like weirdly inconsistent with the menu delay that they have. Like within the same game, you'll have like 5 different levels of menu delay, because it just like depending on what they do or don't want you to mash through. But so we're going to grab, basically we're grabbing, so there's some things we have to grab, like this is just a prerequisite, we don't actually want this. But what we do want is we want midair block here. We want this one, which gives us the ability to use combat arts in midair, which we haven't demonstrated yet, but we're about to. And then we want this that gives us extra emblems. And then we grab this one too, I think is also extra emblems. Yeah, it's also extra emblems. And then we're going to tab to the next one. And then here, this is chasing slice. We don't actually care about this. What we want is we want these. Specifically, we want this. This one lets us use prosthetics in midair. And then these two are also just additional spirit emblems. Oh, so we can only hold so many spirit emblems at a time, I should say. These are spirit emblem capacity is what they boost. And that's really important for reasons that are just about to become apparent, basically, because we basically just got the most powerful tool in the game. And we're immediately going to start making use of it. So again, I'm just jumping here because we don't have our sword out. Now I can sprint. So I equip what the game calls Mortal Blade, or Mortal Draw, technically is what the move is called. So we can jump and do this, and it does a ton of damage. I am very slightly over leveled for this guy, but not that much. I'm not even using a buff right now either. But the reason I'm doing so much damage is because the Mortal Draw does more damage when you jump for some reason, when you jump into it. And other combat arts don't work that way, because basically there's new strats where you use like a different combat art at the end of the game now that just kind of came out, and that combat art that you use doesn't get boosted by jumping. So I don't know why. Only this one gets boosted. But so this here, I did a stealth blow from really high up, which is cool. There's like a bunch of ways to cancel fall damage in this game, but that's one of them, is if you fall really far into a death blow, then you cancel fall damage. So now this is kind of going to show how that we can free aim and even dead angle our mortal blade hits here. So see, I start up the animation, and then I'm going to turn my body facing this way. And the goal here is to get full damage on this guy and also kill these guys all in one hit here. So like watch the way my body twists when the move actually comes out. And actually I missed the farthest one here, but that's fine as long as I get full damage. And so normally if this guy had died according to plan, then it wouldn't be any faster, but it would be safer. Then I would just go, and before he like is dead, I would hug this wall here. And then that would prevent the game from saving my position. But since this guy sees me, I can just quit out here and the game will save my position. Because I want to teleport back up to the top, but it's safer if you hit him and then just hug the wall. But it worked out in this case. So now we're like, this is basically the end of early game, and we're okay. We're like 13 seconds behind, which isn't great, but is like acceptable. So I'm not feeling too bad about this run. I'm like, okay, I got something going. And this is exactly where I would think about that kind of thing too, because we've just got a bunch of running to get to the next set of mini bosses and stuff. We're gonna run by a bunch of monkeys here, which is cool.
Did you know at this point, I know you're saying like 13 seconds isn't bad to be off. Did you know going in, are there like future time saves you're expecting to see at all from your own PB?
Yeah, a bunch in mid game, as I like in like the second half of mid game basically. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to remember 2 PBs ago, but yeah, it's basically once we get past this section here, I have a bunch. I think I've got a bunch on Ape and this like that I'm running against. And then I have a bunch like on some of the headless fights later. Things are, yeah, so I'm feeling okay. We'll just say that. But now we're coming up to Gunfort here. And Gunfort. But it's fine. So we use a sugar there. This is important. We need this sugar to do a trick here. So this mini boss, this I definitely recommend doing casually. So I had to hold crouch as I was getting off of this, because I need to buffer as I was getting off the grapple, because I need to buffer a crouch immediately. If I take a step forward here without being crouched, even with the sugar, then the mini boss will see me here. I need her to not see me. So that works, that's fine. And I go over to the left here, and then I need to wait. So if you don't have any, by this point in the game, you could have things that boost your stealth ability. If you have the stealth abilities, you can go all the way up to this grass and she won't see you. Because I don't have any of those, the line at which she will aggro normally is like about here. So I'm making sure to stay back until she gets... That was kind of a little bit bad RNG as well. Like, depending on when they shoot and stuff, depends on when she gets distracted by the gunshot, basically. So she's distracted by the gunshot. Now I can go and take my free death blow here. This is another thing you can do casually, because a lot of people find this fight really hard casually, but you do have to still parry the block, but pretty much anything else you can just parry and then Mortal Blade her, and it works out that you have enough time to parry. Okay, so now the Nightmare. So there's a lot of gunmen here. There's one here, there's one here, there's one here, and then there's one over here. And then there's another one like way up here that you can't actually see right now. So what we're gonna do here is something called YOLO Gunfort. So the safe way to do Gunfort is you run up to this gap in the bridge here. You fall through the gap, and then you grapple, and then you grapple, and then you grapple. But then you have to wall kick and climb up here, and it's slower. That's like the intended way for sure. You're supposed to run through and then you're like, oh no, what am I going to do? And then it's like, oh, there's a hole, I escape. And then you go up through that way. But it's faster if you go through here, like just take the bridge as normal. And then if you kind of circle and jump off of this, you can grapple directly to this. Well, you grapple to this and then to this one here. So that's what we want to do. But that means we have to run right by the gunman. And so there's a lot that goes into doing this consistently. It's about 5 seconds faster. I don't have to be doing this right now. Like actually, like Sudomo, he just beat this like a couple days ago, beat this time. But he doesn't even do YOLO Gun Fort yet. He does like another skip later that I don't do, which we'll talk about it when we get there too. It's a similar amount of time save, so it about balances out. But the reason that I choose to do this instead of the late game one to save about the same amount of time is just because I feel like the only way to get good, I feel like this can be consistent. I don't think it's RNG. I think you just have to do it a lot and see all the different gun cycles. Because depending on how you move your camera and stuff, like remember what we talked about with the gunman, like how you move your camera affects how they shoot. So like it's not just consistent movement, but it's also consistent camera movement to get consistent gun cycles. So about the way this is going to work roughly is we're going to get one shot here, and then when we get to the middle here, we're going to get bam, bam, and then when we get to here, this is the annoying one, because once you're over here, you're so close to like the gunman up here that the rope bridge here, the rope part, which is normally what blocks the shots for us for these other 4 or these other 3, it sometimes doesn't block this one. And I'm pretty sure like it's worse if the guy shoots really late. So I think it's partially camera related. But the thing I've been doing is I actually turn my camera kind of more. I move my camera over this way more now to try and angle into the bridge a little bit, because the collision is very slippery in this game in general. So you can kind of angle yourself into collision a little bit and not really go much slower. And then that will tend to make him shoot over here or hit like into the rope. But that's basically what I'm trying to do here. So that first shot was really late, but that doesn't matter. Then the 2, and then this one hits me right here. So the shots were like a little later than normal. And like maybe that's camera movement. There's some variability even if you do the right camera movement. But like I said, now I angle my camera differently here. It seems to work better. This one's it's just hard to figure out. But so I take a hit there. You can see I can take one, but that throws off the whole cycle because of that stagger. So normally I would run here around and then this patch of grass to keep this guy over here from being able to hit me. Because I need to look at him so that he starts the shot, and then I need to look away from him so that he misses the shot. And so I'm basically trying to continue exactly as I would normally. But because the cycle's off, because I get hit and die. And so this is a big time loss here, but it's like, it's just like, but you know what? I go the safe way. Like normally I would just try to go for the other one, and if I die, runs over because it's like a big time loss to die there. But it's like, you know what? I don't have any more time to reset. So it's like, I'm just gonna finish the run because I need to just finish. And if you die here, it's like a 3-minute run back. So it's just, I wouldn't even finish the run at that point. So it's like, I'm just gonna make sure I don't die, make sure I can finish the run. And like, I'm not gonna PB, I'm not gonna get the 108 today, but that's whatever. Like, I just want to finish a run for practice at this point. So this guy, yeah, we just jumping double Mortal Blade here. And then I'm hoping he doesn't roll away. But if he does roll away, then this second Mortal Blade will still catch him. It's just a little bit slower. And then this is a cool interaction with the Yasha here. So, again, this is my little tiny baby health bar. So we get these prayer beads over here. You can see I just got one from that mini boss. If you get 4 prayer beads, you can upgrade your health. But there's nothing you can do with them, like intentionally, that saves time. Like you can make a few things faster. But you don't actually save time doing it. So I don't do any health upgrades. Some people, even at a higher level, will get like 1 because there's some menuing where you can do it where it doesn't lose as much time to use a prayer bead, but I don't use any. So we got this little tiny health bar, and it's important that this is like our maximum is this tiny, because there's a lot of types of damage in this game that are based on percentage of your max health. And actually also the amount of health you get back from your healing gourd is also based on your max health. So because of that, see, our Yasha like just ran out right after we hit the ground. If we had had this full-sized health bar, we would have taken this much damage, like about 40% damage, relative to this max health bar, and we would have like no health left. But we actually have a decent amount left because of that, because we made our Yasha last until here. And we actually can take advantage of that in the next fight because we have this extra health here. So that's like a really cool, like min-maxy kind of thing you can do with the max health effect. It comes into play a lot more later as well when we get another item later. So we're just picking up sugars here. And then I'm gonna try not to get killed by this fish here. Sometimes that fish charges and will kill you. I'll also explain the revives real quick too. So I have this like half full pie here. If you don't die at all, this never shows up. But normally you take an intentional death like partway through the run during an auto scroller where it doesn't lose you time. But once that shows up, you have up to 2 full circles here. Then that means you have 2 revives. You can't like die and then revive twice in a row. Because you'll get like a black mark through, like it looks like that. It says like you have this much res left, but you can't use it. But this icon that I have here means I actually don't have enough resurrected power to resurrect it all right now. So if I got killed by that fish, then the run's just over. So like I could have healed there, but it was like I'm too irritated. If the run dies but to the fish, then the run dies to the fish because it's usually fine. And so if I die again here, I'm dead. I can't do anything about it. You get resurrective power by killing enemies and bosses, basically. And then we come up to this boss here. This boss has like a really cool cycle as well. So Ape up here has basically 3 separate staggers that have different triggers. One of them is triggered by getting hit with the firecrackers, because beast enemies are like weak to firecrackers basically, and they also take posture damage to it, which also matters. And then I will try to pause at the different staggers here too. So that's one. So this is his specific firecracker animation. Once you trigger this, he will be immune to firecracker stagger for a little bit longer. Like there's like a cooldown on it. But then once that cooldown wears off, you can firecracker him again to stagger him again, but it will become like he'll do an attack when he falls to kind of try to catch you off guard because Miyazaki's hilarious. But there's no hitbox this time, so I'm going to Jumping Mortal Blade. Again, I'm aiming for his head. I deal extra damage when I hit his head. So I didn't get full damage on that. The problem is that for some reason, if you're like too close, like you want to be close to him, but if you're too close and you hit like inside of his body, then he takes too much posture damage, and then you can't do the same cycle, and that's really bad. So like I played it like a little safer than I normally would there, but that immediately puts him into this stagger animation where he's like head kind of down like this. So this stagger is triggered by posture damage as well. His other 2 staggers are triggered by posture damage. So we've triggered his first stagger. Now we're trying to hit him in the head. And then we actually we hit him twice, and then we let him get up, and we do firecrackers. Because firecrackers, like I said, it'll deal posture damage like this, but it won't deal any poise damage because I actually don't want to poise damage him anymore there. Because if I poise damage him from there, I will end, like it'll kick him out of his stagger. Or rather, see, this is the first stagger, and then the second stagger. This is the second stagger. So if you hit him too many times when he's down like this, which is what you're supposed to do, you're supposed to just keep wailing on him. Then he will like roll backwards and run away and then do an attack, and his poise resets completely. But for some reason, if you just let him get up, then his poise doesn't reset all the way. And so you can hit him 3 times again, basically total. So that's why I'm doing 2 and then letting him get up and then doing the 3rd hit. And you can stagger loop him forever like this, basically. That would be like, that's a good casual strat that you could do, honestly. Like, we're not even really looping him here because it's slower to just like loop him normally, but we can actually kill him before we have to loop him. But you can just, once you get him like this, you can loop him. And his first stagger triggers in 10 hits normally. 10 normal R1s, and that's not dependent on your damage. Poise damage is separate from your attack power. However, in New Game Pluses, bosses get more poise. That's true in all From games, actually. They get more poise in New Game Plus. So this strat at like New Game Plus 3, I think it is, eventually like stops working, and you have to just fight him. But for the up until that, that's a very usable like casual strat. You can see here, I still don't quite have enough resurrective power to revive here. So still, if I die, I'm done. Oh, I'm using keyboard and mouse for this. I'm just trying to position myself properly to get a specific attack. And then this is this is a new strat. So this is like kind of new to this run-ish, like for my PB at least. This is one that I got from Sudamo in his 109.08 that I had just beaten when this happened. So even though he has no head anymore, his head hole here is still a weak point. And normally the way it works is he has specific combos where he makes this vulnerable. But with our Mortal Blade, we can actually hit the weak point during certain other animations where you're not supposed to be able to. So this is a really cool strat where we're going to be free aiming our Mortal Blade here. So I get the scream immediately, which is what I want, and then I jump away. So the arc that his head's going to follow, because I can't like... His head's going to or his head hole, I should say, is going to sway down and then like up and kind of back around. So I need to hit him when he's here. So that's why I need to jump before he gets the scream off, basically, because I need to be in position to hit this when it gets to the lowest point. And then the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my body to this side, because the arc of the Mortal Blade attack is that it hits like kind of out and then it swings up towards the end of the swing. So I'm hitting him at the end of my swing. However, it is notable that there are like sweet and sour spots on my Mortal Blade hitbox as well. So I need to hit his weak point about here, and I also need to hit his weak point with the sweet spot of this attack to get maximum damage. And that's what I'm going to be trying to do here. And I need to jump also to get more damage. So here and bam. So you can see he recoiled back up here, but I hit his weak spot. You can tell because I did this much damage. If I didn't hit that, I would do about this much damage, posture damage. And then I kind of swing myself back around. Yeah, so the first hit is like down and then swings up. And then the follow-up hit starts up here and then goes down, like in this kind of motion. So I'm going to swing my body back around in between hits here to get full damage on the other one there. And it didn't do as much damage as the first one, but that's because I jumped on the first one, but you obviously can't jump on the other one. And then also, this is perfect here. So I staggered him out of his scream. So I take damage here. This is why it matters so much that I had the Yasha still active when I killed him, when I dropped off of that cliff, basically, because this would kill me otherwise. So that's why that matters. And then the other thing to note here that doesn't matter right now, but this bar here, this is a status called Terror. It's the equivalent to Curse in the other, like, From games. It just insta-kills you. Or Death Blight in Elden Ring if you're new from Elden Ring. But that won't matter because only the Scream does it, and I stagger him out of it here. And then I hope he does this attack is good. And then I can hit him here as well. And you see, if you notice, the way I turned is the same way. So I'll swing up and into the weak spot here. And that will... Oh, it's also really important that I hit him with at least one R1 between now and then, actually, too, because otherwise this won't stagger him. Because the Mortal Blade does a lot of poise damage, which is what staggers, but doesn't do enough to stagger him in one hit. It's like one Mortal Blade plus one R1 will stagger him in one hit, so I needed an R1 there as well. And then bam! And then he just needs a few more hits. Like, depending on how you hit everything and the timing of his attacks, you can actually kill him, like, 100% there. So that's a really cool, relatively new strat. Like, this was only the second PB I'd gotten since those were found. And it's so nice for this fight, because if you have to wait for him to do his full combos to get the max damage like that, there's a lot more RNG in the fight. But now it's like, almost no matter what he does, you can get... It's harder, but like once you get it, it's so sick. It's so sick. But then we can warp back to Last Rested here. So So the first part of the game is like a scavenger hunt, basically, where you're supposed to get a bunch of items. And then once you do that, it automatically sets this idol here as your last rested. So we can warp back to last rested, even though we've never grabbed this idol. And they do that because they lock you out of some idols in the castle up here. And they don't want you to be like soft locked or have to run like way back. So they just give you this idol. And because they just gave you this idol, it's your last rested. So that's like a cool little, I guess you could call it an exploit, but taking advantage of something they did. So we kill that guy because we want to do another quit out warp here, but we don't want to be warped all the way back there. We want to be warped back here. That guy back there, sometimes he just like bugs out and doesn't see you, and it's annoying and you have to run up to him, but most of the time that happens and he sees you. So we set our, basically where it'll put us back on quit out all the way back there, which is nice. And I'm going to use this Akko's here immediately, and then he doesn't see us yet, so we jump. Immediately get the stealth death blow here. Oh, that's another little thing. When you activate the aerial death blow, like from above, he stops moving. So that's why I'm like mashing almost R1 to get the death blow as soon as possible, because it stops him from moving. And I need him to be higher up on the stairs because I need to push him up to this wall here with my mortal blades here. So I'm also angling him here with this because I need to be able to, yeah. Because once he dies, then suddenly nobody is aggroed onto me anymore, and the game would save my position there, but I want it to be saved back there. Oh yeah, that's one place I had time save. I don't remember exactly what happened 2 PBs ago, but basically I struggled to get him to hit him properly. And so I had like time save there, but I'm still like 20 behind, so I'm still like, I'm not like, I need stuff to go right in late game is the thing. And usually what happens in runs like this is if I'm not like if I'm not like meaningfully ahead or set to be meaningfully ahead in late game, then you kind of expect that you're just going to lose time, like to some like RNG kind of stuff. Basically, there's not too much RNG in this game, and we're finding ways to get a lot of it out as we speak. But there's like a lot of little things where you can lose like a couple seconds on each fight. And it's just too common to be in a position where you're like just barely you can PB if everything goes right, and then not everything goes right. Like you just don't quite get the best possible patterns everywhere. Yeah, this guy, I just bait him into the corner here. Like getting him into this corner quickly and consistently is kind of difficult, but it's mostly just kind of dead angling him and like playing it by ear. Like you get like a real feel for it eventually. The way that enemies move when you're dead angling them and they're not up against the wall is very strange because they kind of want to circle around you, and so like to aim them someplace without the help of a wall is actually kind of difficult. Sometimes it's really easy if he gives you like a good first attack, but it takes some practice for sure. And then it's literally, unlike the Genichiro dead angle here, this one is literally as simple as just hitting R1. But this boss will reappear later. We'll get to actually fight him later when we're stronger and we don't have doors to lock him in. And then we just have more dialogue, basically. We're just turning in all the things that we need to do for our scavenger hunt. And then we're also going to trigger a bit of dialogue that we need for kind of one of the secret endings, which is why we're going to go eavesdrop in a bit. And we're just going to do a quit out here to advance the world state, because we want Emma to appear here, so she'll be here. But there's nothing too important in this part if you have like questions or anything. But so there's like multiple secret endings and stuff. And this is the only secret ending though that like actually has a boss related to it. So we only do this one. And so this is all still normal stuff. So like I mashed through his thing there to get that. That is one thing, even with the dialogue cancel, there's like a little bit of routing that goes into it. Because in some dialogue trees, it's slower if you mash start like every dialogue box. And then some like won't advance properly if you don't actually mash through them. So you have to know like when you're mashing X and when you're mashing start. But that eavesdrop that we just did there, which is like a kind of like a story mechanic that they have that lets you get extra dialogue from NPCs, and we need to do that there to listen to Kuro, which we can obviously like cancel it immediately. And that sets us up for more stuff we can do later. And now we can go to Fountainhead. Yeah, so I don't have time save. It was like 3 PBs ago I did have time save on this split. This trick is really finicky, basically. We're gonna meet our old friend Corrupted Monk, or this is True Monk actually, but we're gonna meet Monk again. And this is the reason that we can stealth death blow the original Monk, is because there's a scripted part of this fight where you can skip phase 2 by grappling up here and then up here, and then jump down from here and hit her while she's summoning the shadow clones to skip the phase. And that's deliberate. But because that's there, if we enter the arena from the side here, like this, then we can keep her from aggroing on us, and then we can actually hit her even while she's invisible. So visually, she comes in from the top here and like over this and then lands here. But that's just like a visual effect. She's actually here still. She's just hidden. And so actually, if you like if we do this trick and you like avoid aggroing her, you can actually like bump into her invisible collision here. But we're going to take advantage of that by stealth death blowing her from above while she's invisible. But it's like really hard to hit, like harder than you would normally think. So I'll explain a little bit about my lineup. Is I'm going to be putting my health bar like roughly here. It's not omega precise because you kind of aim it a lot with your aerial movement. And then with my inputs, I'm kind of going to be trying to jump out, but then turn here, and I want to hit about here because this is about where she is. So that's what I'm trying to do here. So I see I line up about there, jump, and there we go, I get it. But this one, it's really easy to screw up. You can just quit out and reload to try it again, like if you want to do it casually or something, but you lose about 12 seconds every time you have to reload. So that's really, you don't want to do that. And then so I'm going to buff with my Yasha here. So we just skip phase 1 and then we immediately skip phase 2 because the phase 2 skip is intended. We just go back up. Oh, also I hit her with 1R1 in between phase 1 and 2. That's only a timing thing. If you jump back up immediately, sometimes she won't go into the shadow clones phase. She'll just try to swing at you up there instead. So I just R1 her there to make sure that I'm giving myself enough time that she actually starts this attack. And then I can go up and just kill her. So I buff there when the blood pops out, and then so she's like immune to damage when she first gets up. So I need to time this Mortal Blade so that she's like still vulnerable to damage. But if I do it too late, then I don't have time to block her next attack. But it's not too tight. It just takes some practice. And then I parry those 4 times, dodge through the 5th, double Mortal Blade, dodge through Firecracker, jump back, and double Mortal Blade. And that's phase 3. And then the only reason I jump around to the other side of her there is so that I'm kind of pushing her towards the door again as I finish her off. That's like a big thing in a lot of FromSoft games, is pushing people towards the door as you're like fighting the boss, basically. And then this is another unintended thing. Okay. All right. So this guy up here, he's intended to keep you from going into this water here. He will kick balls with lightning, like at you, and they'll just like kill you. And you can't really dodge them underwater normally. So you're supposed to have to go all the way over to the left and do this whole long level and stuff to get up to him, and then you kill him, and then you can go through the cave that we're going to go through. But we can very specifically dodge him here. So we're going to do 3 swims, and then swim over here. And then we dodge under this, so his first ball hits here. It's important that it hits this log here, because if it hits the water, it has like a big AoE. But if it hits the log, it has a much smaller AoE that doesn't go under the water. And then we have to wait like just half a beat. If you mash the dodge out of that, like the dash, then you'll get hit there. He fired the second one, you didn't even like see it. But he tried to hit me again there, but if you time it exactly right, it doesn't hit you. And then there's the big fish under here. I swim in the middle of this a little bit, just to I want him to aggro early to me a little bit. And then I can swim through the top here as he charges at me, and he just doesn't hit up there. But he'll destroy the collision here, so I can just swim through like that. Because the fish works more like the snake, where he has like certain scripted attacks that only hit in certain places. He's not like, doesn't have like normal tracking, basically. And then that gets us through this level, but we do have to go back and kill some mini bosses that are here. So that's what we're going to be doing here. It's just faster to do this level backwards, basically. And then this guy, the guy who kicks the soccer balls at us, basically is deliberately easy. So we just sprint through here, get some free emblems, but that doesn't matter. These guys generally aren't a problem. Sometimes these archers can shoot at you from behind, but as long as you move right, it's not a big deal. And then this is a small optimization. I just use the confetti there because it lasts a full minute, and I need it for the boss after this. And then I jump it, and so I hit him with the shuriken while he's in the air. So one of the features of the shurikens, a lot of the time we just use them to make bosses pick attacks. Like that's what we used it on Owl. If he doesn't run at us, you just shuriken him, and it makes him pick an attack immediately. But shurikens will also knock enemies that are in the air out of the air. And I just jump when I use it because then I can keep moving while I'm using it. And then I jumping Mortal Blade, and one jumping Mortal Blade plus the shuriken damage will kill him. Yeah, so the reason I use the confetti back there is because I need to use two items. I need to use my stealth sugar here, and I need to use the confetti. If I wait until here to use them both, then I'm just kind of wasting time because I can't really walk forward anymore while I'm using the confetti. So I just use it earlier just to get the most out of the moving while using it animation. And so we're going to kill our first headless here. It's an underwater headless. There's 2 underwater headless and 3 on land. This is the one that correlates with the Yasha sugar, our really damaging one. And he has a twin over here, and he will also launch like blades at us if he sees us. So that's why we need to use the stealth sugar here. And then we go down. So wait for him to pick an attack. He picks that one. That's fine. He doesn't do a follow-up, so that's good. And then I just parry that. And then keep hitting him. And now I can basically just circle around him. The headless don't block at all. They just let you hit them because they're like creepy undead guys is basically the reasoning. So we got the spirit fall here, and the way that spirit falls work is they're like sugars, but instead of being consumable items, they're reusable, but they consume your spirit emblems down here. So it affects how we budget our spirit emblems, but like I said, later in the run, since we're getting 15 every time we kill a mini boss, we're eventually going to have like an omega surplus of spirit emblems, and so that's better than using all of our sugars. We are going to pick up some more sugars here because there's 3 right there. And then that's the animation cancel I was talking about with Bolt earlier, where you cancel him into a faster death animation by kicking him, just faster than letting him die. But yeah, so there's still going to be some fights where we want to use the normal sugars because that gives us more spirit emblems to use for Mortal Blade hits during the fight. But we're also, since we can kind of use them on demand, there are going to be some fights where we don't really need to use Mortal Blade for different reasons, or don't need to use all of our Mortal Blades because they die so fast. So because of that, like, you're going to see there's going to be some places where we run right by Yasha sugars and don't pick them up because we can just use our Spirit Fall, and it's like not worth the 1 second it takes to pick up a sugar even. But so now we have double ape. This is the ape refight. So I'm going to stop here. It's like right past here is where I'm going to use my sugar. because then my max jump distance will carry me over and just like put me in exactly the right spot when I hit him with the Mortal Blades here. So I'm going to do 2 Mortal Blades, 1, 2, and then do 1 more. I'm not going to do my follow-up here, so I got to wait until I can cancel it, because I need to use more here. And then 1, 2, same thing, and then another jumping will re-stagger. And now I'm out of Spirit Emblem, so I don't do as much damage, so I'm just going to mash basically R1 until he dies, because he doesn't have time to break out of it. And then we get a damage buff here. It's like a reusable damage buff here, the ninjutsu, for like finishing him for real like that. But we don't actually use that at all, but we have to kill him, like for real kill him. Otherwise there's a mini boss that spawns here later that won't spawn here. So we can't actually finish the run without doing that. So we just do it now. So we're not actually I don't think we use any ninjutsu in this run, which is funny. But ninjutsu normally are what you get from, like, if you kill an enemy with a backstab, you can trigger ninjutsu on them. But we're just not going to use those because they cost like a ton of Spirit Emblems. And then so this is the guy that we ran by at the very beginning. So he's just going to super die, and we're just going to try not to get shot. Because again, when we're doing like these early game cleanup things, remember, like, I'm doing a ton of damage, but I have like the same amount as base health. I actually have half of base health because I'm using a sugar. So if the gunman up there shoots me, I will just die immediately. So that's why I'm kind of keeping an eye on him here, because I need him to not shoot me in the back here either. Yeah, and a relatively safe bet, if you don't exactly know what cycle the gunmen are going to shoot on, is to just like jump. They will tend to not lead you correctly if you just jump while sprinting specifically. And then we're going to kill our first land headless here. Headless are like frustrating sometimes. They have like really fast attacks they can do just kind of out of nowhere if they're not doing anything. So they're really annoying when they just refuse to do anything, because like it's not safe to attack them when they're not doing anything. Based on how he turns around, though, I can kind of tell when he's going to do that fast slam that he likes to start with. Okay, so this I should explain here is I should explain the way the grab works. Let me see. I think I baited successfully this time. So I'm going to turn around. So I'm turning around to use my buff here. Let me see if he starts to grab. No, he doesn't. Okay, so the way the grab works is, if he detects that he is behind you or is like facing your backside, and as long as you're not like super far away, then he will initiate the grab with this like walking forward, hand out kind of motion. But he actually doesn't have any hitbox at that point. So we don't have to worry about him at all. And then when he gets in range of the grab, that's when he will check again, am I still facing your back, the player's back? And then if he is still facing your back, as far as he's concerned, then you'll get the danger symbol, and then the grab has an active hitbox. And the grab hitbox does not care if it hits your back or your front. It will turn you around and do the animation. So at that point, it's too late. Like, you can't trick him anymore. There is an active hitbox. But if you turn around and then he gets in range of you and then he's like, oh, I'm facing your front, then he'll do this really slow whiffed grab animation that has no hitbox. And so we try to take advantage of that and just wail on him by circling around him while he does that. But you'll get to see that in some of the other headless fights, because I know that the next land headless fight gets it correctly. So that's basically what I was trying to do there, is I was trying to loop him. If I could bait the grab properly. And then so we warp back here. So this is cleanup basically. So we could go fight Dragon right now, Divine Dragon, which would advance the world state. But that deletes a lot of these mini bosses here. The headless would still be around, but we're just fighting the headless while we're near them. But these other mini bosses that we're fighting would be gone if we didn't kill them right now. So we have to go do that. Because generally the way the routing, this is for the secret, quote unquote, secret ending, the purification ending. Yeah, purification ending. So basically the way the routing tends to work in this game is that you're trying to rush down as many bosses as you can and then kind of do cleanup on mini bosses or kill them along the way when you pass them. So here's like a stopping point where we've killed all the main bosses we can kill. That's why we went and did double ape then, because we could have done double ape later, but we'd rather get the damage boost and then go clean up the rest of the mini bosses here. And so that's why this is routed the way that it is. But here we have to go kill these guys now, basically. So this is still stuff we have to do for the secret ending. So we're going to go talk to Emma down here, and then we'll be good for a while. We had to quit out a few times to advance the world state. And we're going to hop over here because we have our sword put away. And now we got to go kill another water headless. The water headless basically only have like 3 attacks, basically. And there are only 2 of them are openers. So this is the bad opener, but it's fine as long as he doesn't follow up. And he doesn't follow up, so we're good. Then we just circle around, we dodge this swing, and then we go back and hit him some more. Oh, also, you don't need to use confetti to kill underwater headless. I should mention that too. You do, like, confetti still boosts your damage, which is why we used it on the previous one. But you can't actually even use confetti underwater. I'm just going to run past all these guys. Lore-wise, I think it's supposed to be because the water's there, that's like the runoff from the divine dragon, is like what the confetti is blessed with and the reason it damages them. So since they're already wet, they take full damage anyway, but I think it's just a mechanical thing, mostly. Because they didn't want to put a confetti animation underwater. And so this guy will disappear later. So we use a stealth sugar there. And then we're going to run up behind him and backstab him here. This guy's interesting because he'll actually use Yasha. He has a Yasha of his own, just like we do. And we actually want him to use that buff because it doesn't work exactly the same, I don't think, where it cuts their health and posture in half, their max health and posture, but it does make him essentially take damage, so he'll die faster. So I want him to do that. But he's going to go through like a super long... He's going to go through this super long, like, oh, I just got surprised. Let me pull out my sword animation. So I'm going to poke him with the spear, actually, to cancel him out of that. So he's like, oh, I better get my sword out. And then I jumping Mortal Blade over here, Firecracker, and then double Mortal Blade will finish him. This is another thing. There's a lot of different like death blow animations that you can get on a lot of different enemies. But these guys, if you kill them with a normal attack, then they go into like a downed kind of state. There's 2 different animations you can get. And we just deliberately got the fast one here. And the way it works is if you're like really close or at kind of an off angle to them, you'll get the slow one. And if you're like kind of far away and facing him more dead on, you will get the fast one. And like one of the easiest ways to guarantee that you get the fast one is like just let him fall back a little bit and then do the death blow. Like you wait like just a split second until he's back a little farther and you'll tend to get the fast one, depending on where you killed him from, but it usually works, so that's handy. And then we're gonna kill another headless here. So this headless, since we can aggro him from like really far, like since we can approach him from really far away, we can actually like bait his grab from the beginning. We can cycle him from the beginning, I should say. So we're gonna jump past him as he's turning, and then we can just kind of stay behind him here. And he can't quite figure out where we are. I mean, he actually sees us, but he can't actually turn around. And then for phase 2, we're gonna bait the grab by dodging away like this. And then there's the grab, there's the whiff animation, like where do you go? And then just do the same thing. And this is the headless that has the most health, because they do have different amounts of health. So handy that we can just loop him the whole time. So we've only got one more headless to kill, and it'll be one of the last things that we kill. Now we can go do dragon. So now I'm anxious because it's like, oh, I could actually PB here. But I'm not like super anxious because it's like, I'm not like, the run's still not like good. I should be farther ahead by this point. But it's like, oh, this could happen. This could happen now. Is kind of where my head's at this point. But basically, there is like an RNG chance to lose time on Dragon. There's actually a way you can do the fight now that's around it, which is like a newer strat that I've been practicing now, which is cool. But I'll explain when we get to that part exactly what the RNG chance is. This was one of the few cases where there's just like hard RNG chance to lose a meaningful amount of time all in one split. The other one comes up like right after this split, basically, and that one I can't figure out how to do anything about. But this one, there's a way around now at least. So we're gonna go up and kill Dragon. His first phase is somewhat of an auto-scroller at a certain point, but not really. Basically, we have to kill his little minion guys while they're gray to deal damage to like a big health bar. And there are only so many of them that can spawn in at a time, so we just kind of want to keep killing them fast enough to stay ahead of their spawn. And so we're going to hit this one before the others spawn. And then we're going to try to get a bunch of them with Mortal Blade if we can. And then we're wait for this branch. And now once this branch spawns, we can do a special aerial death blow that lets us clear a whole bunch at once. So once the branch spawns, we can kind of stay ahead of their spawn anyway. It's mostly about making sure you kill enough of them in the first wave before the branch spawns that you can wipe the rest of them out like that. And then this is phase 2. So the way this works here, I'll try to pause wide. Okay, so these 5 branches here, you draw them. There's one here, 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 and here. And the way that the fight is supposed to go is you're kind of just supposed to dodge around the boss's attacks until lightning will spawn at these pillars, basically these branches. The way the lightning spawns is it's like every, I want to say like 18 seconds, the game will randomly roll a branch and it will spawn a lightning there. So like it might roll over here. And so there's always like a little bit of RNG because like you can get unlucky and it's like, oh, it spawns one lightning over here, it spawns one over here, and it's like, oh, well, I have to run all the way over here now. But the real problem with the way this cycle works right here is that if the game rolls a branch where there's already lightning, then your lightning spawn will just get eaten and the timer will reset. And so you have to wait an additional 18 seconds or get another attack from the boss basically to do that much damage. So you can lose a lot when you do this as a 2 lightning fight. But the way that you can do it is you can take the first lightning immediately. And if you play it right, you can still get basically the same speed cycle if you bait the right attacks and stuff. And then we're going to do 1 Mortal Blade jump and then 2. So punishing that attack is also kind of difficult because you need to get full damage on the 1 Mortal Blade, the first jumping Mortal Blade from like over here, but like without getting hit by the neck because his whole neck has like an active hitbox for the first part of that attack. But then you need to jump to like the lowest point of the neck so that you can hit with both attacks there. And then to make things worse, he actually tries to hit you with a lightning on this attack. But fortunately, if you do it with the same timing every time, what you can do is you can jump over here. You can jump over here, hit this one, and then if you time the second jump right, you can either make it so that you either jump and avoid the lightning because it hits sooner while you're in the air and then you come down and you're safe. Or he tries to hit you with the lightning at the point when you're just starting your jump. And so this is like a common thing. It's part of the reason that the gunmen tend to miss you if you sprint jump. But at the very part of your jump, because you're accelerating kind of upward, they will try to lead you and they'll do a bad job because they just like, even if it's like a scripted animation like that always has the same trajectory, they don't take the trajectory into account. They just go, oh, he's accelerating in this direction at this speed. So then it fires the lightning way over here. And that's what happened at this particular time is that it aimed the lightning at me while I was jumping. And so it was like, oh, you're going to be halfway across the map when I fire this. So it just misses completely. And then I needed 2 more shurikens to get enough damage to finish in 2 lightnings like this. And then this I like this fight because it's cool that like this is normally supposed to be a gimmick fight, but it's cool that you can like actually punish his attacks and stuff. But this part is kind of annoying. I forgot to check the timer. I think I get good RNG here basically, but he just keeps doing attacks for a certain amount of time, but he won't cancel whatever attack he's on when he passes the time threshold, basically. So he can start a really long attack, which is that slam one. He can start the really long attack right before he's about to transition into this phase. And that you'll just lose like up to like 6 seconds, I think it is, if he does it at the absolute last minute, like 6 or 7 seconds. And that's enough time to be super annoying. And like that kind of thing with this fight is like partially why I wasn't like, I still wasn't super optimistic at this point. It was like I needed that to go well, but then it did go well, and so I'm like, okay. So now I'm going to be ahead here, but just slightly. And then there's like one more big RNG part like right after this. Or it's like 2 splits from now. And so that's where my head was at. So I'm like, okay, I'm ahead. There's a chance, but I still need things to go well. And then here there's oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, just to clarify, I think you said it was 6 seconds, the RNG can affect total for that fight, or is there more variance than that?
There's the 6 seconds you can't do anything about, and then before that, if you get double lightning on the same one with that cycle that I just did there, like I said, there's a safer one you can do that's harder, but will guarantee that you can't get screwed by lightning RNG, but lightning RNG can cost you like, depending on, like if you bait a good attack after it might only cost you like 8 seconds, but like if you get bad lightning RNG and then also a bad attack, it can be like, it's really bad because your Yasha runs out even once the lightning spawns. And it's...
Yeah, so that's quite a bit then, yeah.
Yeah, it's like 20%. It's like 20% chance for that. So that's like, yeah, because it's
a decent amount, yeah.
Yeah.
For especially so deep into the run.
But like I said, there's a harder cycle that circumvents that, and that's what I've been working on. Oh, this is another thing. This is scripted. Kind of like this is intended that this guy gets baited over by these explosives over here, and then they explode and they do a bunch of damage to him, but I have to remove his armor first with the spear. But what happened here, if I go back, yeah, so I run up the thing here. There's also a little bit of RNG here. Ideally, I want 4 emblems going into here. Like, there's one here I could pick up, obviously, but lame. I'm just going to hope to get 1 drop at least from all the guys dying behind me, which you usually do. Because you can back it up if you only have 3. Technically, you only need 2 here. 2 emblems, but it's a lot safer if you get 1 drop here and have 4. So I'm going to stealth death blow him from up here. So I still haven't gotten a drop, so I'm like, damn, I'm going to have to do the riskier way, but that's not a big deal. And there's my emblem. I'm like, oh, cool, I can do the safe thing. So I do this, that misses. And then I run over here. I run over here to get... I'm baiting him around the corner, so I need to like come over here to get this guy over here to be like, oh, the player's over here. Now it's time to shoot these explosives here. But usually he won't do it just yet. He'll just like normally just start aggroing. But you see the guy from over here happens to hit the explosives there, which means the timer is already started. And normally you go... So the safe way that I wanted to do, because I had the 4 emblems, was you always have to run into this corner here to break his line of sight. Because breaking his line of sight is what triggers him to come around the corner. But normally you would break his line of sight to get him to come over here, and then you would run back over here and you would just firecracker him to stagger him, and then you just wait till the gunman shoots this, and then you can spear pull him. And so there's like a little bit of RNG time loss if he like takes a while to shoot the thing, but it's not like a big deal, and it's super safe and consistent and easy. But that got hit right there. So now I have to do the super YOLO way where I'm like, he's not even all the way around the corner. The explosion radius is like here. So if I can't just hit him over here because then he's out of range of the explosive. So I have to like pull him over here really quick. I don't want to get caught in this because I'll get knocked down. If I'm at the very outside of the explosion, it won't quite kill me, but I get knocked down and then like the cycles, it's all screwed up. So I'm like, okay, well, we're going for it. And then I just, like, you see how close that was. I just managed to avoid taking damage. He takes full damage and then bam. So that's faster than the normal strat when that happens, but it's just mega scary. Like, it's so scary. You just have to make it work there. So that's like good RNG, but like that's the game saying think fast, but you actually save time if you do. So I guess I'll take it. But that got my adrenaline on this run that's like now like mediocre, maybe you could say, or like, oh, this could happen. Like, I don't need much for the 108. That's the thing. And I just want the 108. I want the 108 before Pseudomo gets the 108. Is that petty? A little bit, but I wanted it. And so I'm like, okay, please, just give me the 108. But now this is where I need time. This is the other big RNG point. And you can see that I only have 5 seconds to save here. So this guy, he's a big boss. He has tons of health. You may notice, though, that this arena is Gyobu's arena, which means we can actually throw him off the edge as well. However, there are these guys here, here, and here that are scripted to have a fight with him. However, the exact like blow for blow of the way that they fight is not scripted. So basically, the fastest way to do this is for me to just run straight around him to this tower and then get out of bounds just immediately. And then the problem is that if these guys take their sweet time fighting and he hasn't killed them by the time I'm over there, then like basically what I have to do is I have to come back down, help him kill them faster, and then I have to jump myself off the edge to get warped back up to the top here. Because for whatever reason, when you get out of bounds, like normally if you jump like off of the ledge here, the game, it doesn't kill you, but it doesn't like put you back in the last place it thought you were either. It just puts you like in the middle of the arena here. But if you get out of bounds and then jump off the cliff, then it like saves your position correctly for some reason. Just kind of an oversight quirk of the way it's coded. But that's like can be way slower if you have to run over here. Like, I mean, think about the amount of time we're talking about here. Like if you're picking up this game, this won't bother you that much because it's as long as you get the jump. There's actually an even safer way you can do this, where you do some level up stuff here while you wait for them to fight, and then you help him kill them, and then you bait him over here, and then you go do the jump so that you can try it as many times as you want. But I'm going to go for the fastest possible. I'm trying to do a camera manipulation here. I don't even think this works. I was just trying stuff. It's like, I've tried so many things to try and get these guys to fight consistently, and I can't do it. So for one, I could potentially be in trouble if I mess this up. This isn't terribly hard, but when the run is on the line and you've got nerves, this can be scary. And then you see here this my experience bar here. Every time the experience bar pops up, that's how I know that one of the guys has died, and I want it to pop up 3 times. So I want him to be killing the third guy right as I get up to where I need to get to save, to match my gold. And it happens. I can tell by that. Like, there's the last dead guy. And so it was like, with only 5 seconds against my gold here, it was like average to this split, I would say I would usually lose 5 to 15 seconds to gold. Like, the average is somewhere in there, which, again, if you're picking up this game, that doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter for quite some time, but it's just it's so common. It's happened to me so many times to get to, and then I can jump like once he gets about here to do this faster strat. It's so common that you'll be just barely on PB pace, and then you'll get here, and then he'll just take all day fighting the guys. They won't be active. They'll just block a lot, and it just sucks. It just sucks, and you just lose like 15 seconds, and it's like, well, this was like just barely PB. And I mean, again, not to complain too much, to put things in perspective, if I had I was 30 seconds behind, like in the beginning of mid game. I've been up 30 seconds so many times against these splits even, and before this, like in the grand scheme of things, I could get like a slightly below average fight there and still like PB. It's not like I needed to PB, but it's annoying to be close a lot and then just have that happen, where he just takes forever to kill the guys. And then we got some other menu and stuff here. But so now I'm like 10 ahead, and I'm like, okay, well, we got some room to work with. It's not an amazing run. Like I said, I could be. There's a lot of room for improvement in this category. We've just had so many new strats since everyone came back. Like I said, I keep catching Sudamo, and then he beats me with new stuff, and then it's like, well, now I got to learn all the new stuff, but which is fun. It's fun to have new stuff, but there's a lot of room for improvement in this. But at that particular RNG point is annoying to me. And then we're just jumping out of bounds here. There's weirdly just like a big holes in the collision of this cliff, and we can just kind of slide along it if we do the jump a certain way. And then we can get air swim here. We're not actually skipping anything by doing this air swim. We're just using it for movement. This swim saves about like 7-ish seconds, if I remember correctly. That is the thing. A lot of the swims in this, like if you're learning this game, like the swims are what will irritate you, honestly, because there are so many of them, and a lot of them only save like less than 10 seconds. But you will, like when you're learning, you will mess them up a lot. When you're like normally, when you're experienced, you won't care about the swims because you won't mess them up as much. But when you're learning, those are the thing. Excuse me. Those are the things where you'll lose a lot of time and like not save very much, even if you get it. So this is a really low level area. So this guy will die in one Mortal Blade. I know I lose time on this split. I'm not sure exactly what goes wrong, but this jump out of here is really tricky too. I wouldn't say it's RNG yet. It might be, but I don't know enough. Like even 3 years into the game, I don't know enough to say if this is RNG or if it's just very precise movement wise. But ideally what I want to do is I want to hit him with one Mortal Blade as I'm coming down here. I want him to see me because I need him to see me and face me, because I want to kill him. I want to take his first little circle up here with a death blow from the front. And then I want to jump around him as he's getting back up to finish his second death blow with a death blow from the back. Because if you backstab him on the first one, he has like a really slow get up animation where he's immune. But in the second phase, we don't care about that get up animation. But killing him from the front is slower initially, so. But he does the jump back. It's like, it's fine, because I can Mikuri him, but now it's harder to bait the backstab, but I do get the backstab. What do I mess up in this split? That's exactly what you want. Well, no, you don't want him to jump back. Do I mess this up, maybe? Excuse me. And this is a slight shortcut that's kind of unintended. We're just going to grab this. I messed that up and lose time. Oh, I remember that now. That frustrated me. It's really dumb how much time you lose just for missing that. So, like, yeah, like him backstepping lost me a little bit, but it was fine because I got the backstab on the last kill, but the last death blow, but yeah.
Would you say you were feeling the nerves at all during this time, or not quite yet?
No, now I am, because it's like, okay. I've got like a little more time to save, but we're definitely not at the we're chilling phase of the run. Like,
yeah.
Late game is really fun, but it's like really hard. And there's like a lot of places where I can just lose all my time. And again, like when you're this game, there's just so many places where you can lose tiny little bits of time, because there's like 40 splits, or there's like 45 or something splits, and some splits have multiple bosses. So it's just like it's so execution heavy more than anything because of that. And there's so many places where like little mistakes can just add up so much. Like, but that's what makes this category so fun to optimize. Like I love that there's all this stuff. I love that I still have all this time to save, but I'll be a lot happier when I finally get closer to a more optimized run. But it's just very easy to lose little bits of time everywhere. Like, so this is pretty safe. I did a thing there. I haven't talked about it. This guy's still low level here. The main thing here is that I want to get the death blow on the boss and not on the little guys, because your character will prioritize the death blows on the little guys if they're both on range. I don't know why they chose that, but yeah, the thing is, I snuck up behind him with the stealth sugar, which a lot of people casually don't know that you can do that, but you can. And then I popped the Yasha. The Yasha erases my stealth sugar, but it gives me enough time to get the buff and then backstab him before he sees me. So that's the thing we actually do a lot in late game too, where we'll stealth up to somebody and then sugar and then backstab them real quick before they actually notice us. And then so this boss is also really consistent because again, it's super low level. She will still kill me like immediately if she hits me, but I really only care about her opener, and every single opener you can get a consistent kill. The only annoying thing about this boss when you're learning, and it's like, oh, there's one opener that I don't know. Like, let me just practice that opener. Well, you better do the fight like 20 times to get her to do the right opener you want to practice. But that's true in like a lot of From games where you want to practice specific openers. But yeah, it's just like she tries to summon a bunch of illusions and stuff. They'll be like over here, but we actually just kill her in two Mortal Blades, jumping Mortal Blades while she's trying to summon them. This fight, like, there were old routes where we did this fight. Well, basically there was a time before. So Mortal Blade used to be weaker in earlier patches, and then they actually buffed it. So we're running on a middle patch here. This is 1.04. But like on 1.02, Mortal Blade wasn't as good. So there was a time when we did all these fights like just kind of as intended. And Butterfly, you can just kind of loop her when you're doing it even like as intended. You just kind of keep attacking, and then you just need to have the reflexes to notice if she does the sweep, because then you have to jump and stop attacking. So this is our first Shichimen. Shichimen aren't too difficult. So I'm going to double buff here, so Yasha plus Confetti, because without Confetti I'm not going to hit them very hard. And then these guys, so he's just trying to do his big summoning attack. These guys have more comprehensive movesets, but we do so much damage at this point with all our buffs and everything that he's not really going to get to. The only thing you need to watch is this like terror bar here. So once, if terror fills all the way up, I die again, but like, we just staggered him out of his thing, but notice his AoE terror is still in effect. So I just have to not mess up, but it's like pretty lenient. And then he teleports away for phase 2, so I'm gonna run over here. Well, wait till I turn the camera around. Yeah, so you see him fading out here. And then he's gonna appear right over here, and I know that because I came right over to this spot here. You just need to go like past this a little bit. Like you can run into this circle like right here if you wanna play it safe. And that will force him to spawn over here. And then I rebuff. You might as well rebuff because we've got the emblems to spare at this point. You need to wait anyway over here for him to actually teleport, or you teleport him to the wrong spot. He just tries to teleport as far away from you as possible. A lot of From bosses that teleport, that's how they do it. And so you can manipulate their teleports. And then he tries to hit me with his He's a Fire and his Lazar attack. Maybe that's, I'm dating myself a bit, but we can just finish him while he does that. And plenty of terror to spare here. And that gives us this ceremonial Tanto here. And we're going to equip that to our hotbar immediately, because this is also a really powerful item. Especially in late game when we're fighting more powerful things and we have all our tools. And we're going to use it right now, so you'll immediately see the effect that it has. And again, this is a cool thing too. This is another interaction with this Inuyasha. So this takes half of our max health to use this the Tanto. And it doesn't cut our max health, it just takes half of our max current health. Again, the wording is very important there. So we're going to use this. See, we cut ourselves there. There's our health going down. And then that gives us these 5 red emblems to our count. They're basically like blood bullets in Bloodborne, if anyone's played Bloodborne. So the way that they work is that these go like on top of your current count, So we have 25, but we'll always use these first, which matters for like how they're replenished. But these don't get replenished unless we use the Tonto again. But it gives us a temporary buff to our maximum spirit emblems. So we use that, and then we Yasha. So we took half of our current max health, and then look, we Yasha'd, so we're back at full health again, as far as the game's concerned. And then we'll make use of that later too. So this guy, basically, I want to kill him with a parry, ideally, because if I kill him with a parry, this is a very interesting bit of AI as well. There's like a few cases where this comes up, not really as explicitly as here. But this guy, I wish I knew exactly how it works, because as far as I know, like previous like Souls games and stuff haven't had AI that had this as a check. But some enemies in this game, like, so the way that the AI normally works in Souls games is they know where they're positioned relative to you, or like how far they are from you. And then based on that, they will pick from a set of actions randomly. So basically what their potential moveset is affected by where you are relative to them. But this is a very specific case where this guy has a specific behavior pattern that he will do if his back is not against a wall, basically, or if he's not cornered, if he has adequate space behind him. And so what we want to do is we want to get around him to this side so that he will specifically do that attack. So he will try to jump back there like that, and we just follow him. And then he's trying to whistle for his dogs here, but we can just punish like that. And that was a dead angle as well. You can see like I hit with the back of the blade. I'll pause more when we get to Owl to show, like, because Owl is like all about like getting the dead angles on that fight. But yeah, so that's a really interesting AI thing. I'd love to have like one of the data miners like Zuli or Meow Meredith or somebody. Like, I don't think we're there yet to like crack the AI for this game to that extent, because they just got it like for like DS1 as far as I'm concerned. Whoops. That was a mistake. That's fine. But they just got it to where we see how... Okay. We just got it to where we see... I clicked stop instead of pause. We just got to see in DS1 like the actual values in the code and stuff. So I don't think we're there yet with this game, but I'd love somebody to confirm that there is actually some value or something like that where it's like, do I have space behind me? Because that's like... Maybe that sounds dumb and nerdy, but that's like... It's a big leap in the AI as far as I know. But so this is another drunkard fight here, because it's complicated. We're not gonna get into the story, but this is like a past version of the Harada that we just went to. So this is the same drunkard, but a different version of him. He's way higher level though. So we're gonna just triple shuriken this guy to kill him. And then we can backstab this guy here. This is dirty. So this guy's normally a mini boss here. But here he's just the normal guy, but then they put him like a mini boss tier enemy. They just put him with another mini boss here. It's like mean, but you're kind of supposed to figure out like a stealth way to do it like this. Although not the exact way that we do it. And then we just kill both the archers and then we quit out. And then now the guy actually de-aggroes, but all the guys stay dead. So that'll let us start the fight with a stealth death blow. The other way to do this normally would be to use like a ninjutsu. And you can like, there's like a cloud of smoke one where you can do something similar, basically. But this isn't glitchless and we have access to quit outs, so we're just gonna do this. It's faster. And then I Firecracker and then Mortal Blade after I buff. There are faster cycles you can get with this fight, but if you don't Firecracker immediately when you're doing it like this, there's a chance that you'll get a pattern that'll just kill you. And this is like barely slower depending on what RNG pattern you get, so I just play it safe. Not at that point where I'm willing to risk, like it's not common pattern, but like I'm not at that point where I'm willing to risk the whole run for like a second to do a faster cycle. And then the way that guy, it's 3 Mortal Blades, 2 of them jumping, plus 3 normal attacks of any kind. And so that's kind of what I'm looking for. So now we're on pretty good pace here, but I only have 3 seconds to save here, depending on his opener here. So I do 2 jumping Mortal Blades, because again, I get max damage that way. And now I'm just reacting to what he does. Because he wanted to talk to me at the beginning there, but we're just going to hit him immediately. Like, come on, Dad. And then he does this, so I just jump back here. Then I'm trying to hit him side there. That's fine. Just parry the kick. And then here I need to... Oh yeah, so the emblem count as well. So we're down to 8 spirit emblems. It takes 4 mortal blades to kill him, so we need to do 1 more Tanto here. And here's where I'm going to dead angle him here, so like... Bam. So like I'm facing this way, and then I turn slightly just to catch him in the back, 1, so it's harder for him to block because I'm hitting him in the back. But then also, I'm like just catching him with the very end of the swing so he doesn't block it. And then I got to hit him with a follow-up too. And see, I missed that dead angle. The reason that that's hard and the reason why it's easy to miss that dead angle though is because if you like try to dead angle him too hard and you're like turned way away from him, then he can actually jump back because he's like, oh, you're not attacking me. And he really wants to jump back right now. So he'll just like jump back and do this before you get the full damage Mortal Blade off, and you'll just clip him with it and you'll get half damage anyway. So you really have to sweet spot this. 1, like that is what I want to do. Yeah, so that wasn't the worst, but like again, you can kill him with, if you hit all those dead angles, which I got 3 out of 4 there, then you can kill him like as fast as possible. But that wasn't terrible, but like I'm also kind of far away from him. There's like a little bit of RNG. You can kind of push him towards the thing, but it's also very easy to get him near the idol here if you get a certain attack pattern, basically. And I just quit out there to skip the rest of his death dialogue because it won't let you talk to this until you go through his death dialogue. So I lose like 3 seconds to 3 seconds. It's like 6 seconds to SOB. That's okay. Within like normal range. Now the nerves are definitely high because there's like a couple places where I could just screw up and die, basically. Not really RNG at this point. It's just kind of execution. Though there is one fight in this section that used to have RNG, but I found a way around that, so that's cool. And so this guy, we just double Mortal Blade and then just double parry when he does his quick attack here. Because he'll always do this quick attack as long as we space everything correctly. That is kind of a reflex check. Like obviously when you play the game for years, you're not really going to miss that too much, but when you're super new and the nerves are really high, you might feasibly miss that sometimes when you're like learning. And then this is another thing that you can screw up when you're nervous. If you run too far from that guy, or you're like too close to that guy, he'll like hear you, and you really have to get that death blow quick before he hears you. But then that's another dirty thing they did. They hide that guy behind the door, and then they make the boss like immediately aggro when you hit him. But we can actually just stealth death blow that guy and then quit out to warp back out here. And then run back in, and we can have our cake and eat it too. Because you're supposed to have to choose. Like, do you want the stealth death blow or do you want to kill the ad? But we can do both because quit outs. And then what we did there, actually, hold on. Yeah. So watch, I get this one, but then like watch how I move at him. Like I jump to the right, and then I swing back towards him, and I like bump him with my feet there. There's like a couple places where that's useful, and this is one of them. But while you're in certain animations, you can kind of like ram yourself into enemies and make them do like a little stagger animation. Oh yeah, I screwed up. I think like that thing I was just talking about screwing up because you're nervous. I think I screwed it up because I was nervous like the run before this. And that's why I just saved 6 seconds there. So now it's like 15. I was like, whoa, okay, come on, just don't. It's like just give it to me. Just don't screw it up here. I want the backstab here because it's faster animation. That's another example also of canceling fall damage by getting a death blow at the end. Oh, so this is where there's a faster strat. Like over here. Hold on. Yeah, so you can parkour around this building here on some really tiny points. and it basically just skips a door animation. But it's like I'm definitely going to implement that like soonish. I've been started practicing it a little bit, but it's just really scary when you're like ahead to actually risk the parkour for like 5-6-ish seconds, because you skip this door animation basically is all you're skipping. But it is definitely faster, and it's something that I'm working on now. But it's going to be nerve-wracking to do in good runs for sure. And so this is where there used to be RNG, because I used to just jump around him here and like land right about here, and then basically he just has an ad here with him, and I need to be able to hit him. Like I'm going to do jumping, Mortal Blade, Firecracker, double Mortal Blade. And so like I want to be able to hit both him and the ad with firecrackers at the same time, because otherwise the ad can come up and kill me through him, like as I'm killing the boss. So like that's one thing. But then also this guy has one attack that will come out like faster than I can firecracker after I hit him with one Mortal Blade. And so what'll happen if that happens is we'll trade, and I'll take some damage. Like I'll take like a little bit of health damage here, but he'll still get stunned, so I can still jumping Mortal Blade and recover it. But then you have to heal because I need all my health for the next boss that we fight after this. So it was like a thing where just occasionally you'd lose like 4 seconds here between getting knocked down and having to heal, and it was like super obnoxious. But then I figured out if you kick him like that, then he will always do that stagger animation where he's like stabilizing himself. And so that means he never gets to push you. And so all you have to do then is get the kick and then react to what the ad does. And you can make that fight 100% consistent now. So that used to be another example of like where the end game was just nightmarish sometimes, because you'd be like in a situation like this where you're like just a little bit ahead or even closer, and you're like a little bit ahead, but it's like, man, I really hate losing that 4 seconds because he picked the fast attack. But yeah, don't have to deal with that anymore. And then so here we're going to... Oh, I forgot to mention, this is the other interaction between the Yasha and the Tanto. So we Yasha'd first. We were at half health. So we Yasha first, and then we Tanto, and it takes half of our current max health, which is this. So because we Yasha'd, we can Tanto again, basically. And then we start this fight. And we're going to heal. We can't fit the gourd on our hotbar, and ideally we only use it in this one spot, so I just have to go into my menu to heal, which is annoying, but there's like, you're going to have to use some stuff from the menu. There's no way around it. You just need too many items. But yeah, we bait the... if you heal immediately like that, he always does that thrust. Like throughout the whole fight, he'll always do the thrust if you try to heal, unless he's like otherwise occupied. But if you do it at the very beginning like that, he will do it and he will also miss. So we can actually, well, he's actually, like, he's too slow, and we can Mikiri counter. Oh, which I didn't explain, actually, because we haven't really used it. We've barely used it. It's normally like an early game buff thing. But when bosses thrust at you, or when anybody thrusts at you and they do the perilous attack symbol, which I'm just going to make an asterisk, you can dash into them once you have this ability, and you get like a special counter attack animation. It does a lot of posture damage. But we didn't have the ability, we didn't have enough spare points to get it until right now, basically. Or like fairly late in the game. So we can Mikiri that, which we couldn't do before. And then here we're going to hit him. So this fight is like, basically I'm trying to play it as normal, but then also just get my Mortal Blade damage in when I could. So like there, when he backed up is when I could Mortal Blade. There's other attacks where you get more Mortal Blade, chances sooner. So that's like kind of frustrating that I didn't get the opportunity really to Mortal Blade him until that point, because that's a little slow. So I'm like, okay, just give me good spear phase RNG. So I dodge to the side, I rebuff, and then I firecracker here. I firecracker here because while he's doing this, he's pulling his spear out of the ground for story reasons, basically. But the thing is, while he's doing his spear pulling animation, even though he's not attacking me, his his posture is like constantly regenning because they know that you're allowed to just wail on him there. So they'll let you take his health, but his posture keeps regenning. So I firecracker him to speed up this animation, which means that I can damage him sooner, and the posture damage will actually stick. And then he does that, and then like that's actually good that he jumps back immediately, because then I can just finish this phase really quick, and then I'm like, please lightning. And he doesn't lightning. And he doesn't lightning. And so this was greedy of me. This was like, so the way that the final phase normally is pretty free. He almost always will lightning. Maybe I attacked too soon, like to start with there. Like it could be something like that, but sometimes he just doesn't want a lightning. So if he gives you the lightning reversal immediately, then you just hit him with the lightning reversal, and then you just double Mortal Blade and the fight's over. But there he did like this jump back instead. And that jump back is really bad because in this case, because it's like you see he just like idles after he does it. He just idles there, and he'll even start like regenning posture. And so I panic a little bit, and I'm like, no, I'm just gonna try to dead angle him from here, because sometimes you can do that, but I like massively overshoot and I don't even stagger him on the thing, and he just kills me. But I have like a revive, but that's like a frustrating time loss. And it's the reason that this was like not as fast as it could have been, like at the late game. That was like a big choke on my part. That was like a super panic option, because I was like, stop the bleeding, stop the bleeding. It's just another example of like late game. I love the fights and what you have to do in the late game. I love so much in this game, but like when you're running, it's just the scariest stuff ever, because there's so many situations like that where it's like I don't want to lose these like 5 seconds, but I end up losing even more, obviously, because but this fight is normally fairly consistent, and I didn't have a very good one in the PB before this, so I had 4 to save. Like a quick death like that doesn't lose too much, but I should have saved a little, basically, because that was a pretty good fight up until then, actually. But I'm still like I'm still nervous. Like we're not chilling yet. You don't get to the like we're chilling until like the very, very end of this run, honestly. So that was like the final full boss, but now we've got to do mini boss cleanup now that we've got our maximum attack power. There is a really cool cycle for Elrin that I've found, but I haven't got it like 100% consistent, but it is really cool and incorporates a lot of the like little techniques that we've talked about. So right here is where I'm going to jump. Well, I'm going to sugar, and then I'm going to jump from here. I'm going to land about here, and then I don't want to land too close to her because I'm not actually trying to dead angle her in this case. So to reiterate, when bosses block, you still get your full posture damage. You just don't do as much health damage. But it's only when they parry that like they take reduced posture damage. So I want her to block me. I just don't want her to parry me, but she won't parry me anyway on the second hit. So I want her to block because I want her to do a specific thing here. And she's more likely to do that if she blocks. So I kind of want to hit her dead on with this hit. See, so she blocks there, which I actually want in this case. And then I want her to dodge there. So I do the attack. The attack is in case she stays, but I'm actually hoping that she jumps like this. And I still have time. See, I can catch her with the firecrackers, and then I can jump behind her to finish her with this. Finish phase 1 with that jumping Mortal Blade. Now, the reason I do that is a couple things. One, it's important to know she's immune to damage completely when she jumps back, and she's in like kind of goes transparent like that. But her backstab death animation, like she gets up a lot faster. So I'm deliberately going out of my way to get a back. I'm set up the cycle so that I get a backstab to finish phase 1, because that will let me start phase 2 faster. So I dash away, and then I face the camera to the side here. So this is what's hard, that I don't even know if it's 100% consistent, but it seems to work at least most of the time. If you're standing over here, so that you're like facing away from her, then she won't immediately dash back because it's like you're not pressuring her. Like, I don't know exactly how in the code it figures that, but I mean, we've already seen from the headless that they definitely gave, like, certain AI at least has the ability to know when you're facing away. So this seems to bait a specific attack, or at least like prevent her from jumping away. And then I'm going to face this way as I come around with my Mortal Blade, which is going to make just the edge of the sweet spot hit her here. That. And then I want to turn all the way towards her and hit her with the second one because I want her to feel like she has to block. So this is kind of the same thing. Like, I don't want her to jump. Like, the reason we did the way we did at the beginning of the fight is because we want her to block because we don't want her to jump away immediately. We want her to jump away after. So this is kind of the same thing where, like, I want her to feel kind of threatened so she feels like she has to block and she can't just jump back. And then again, I just hit her until she does whatever. And then I can punish for the kill. So that's a really cool cycle. I'm glad it at least worked in this run. Like, I would say it most of the time works, but there's some stuff I'm not 100% sure if it's RNG or if it's just precise. But so that was good. So I'm like, okay, I shouldn't lose too much time on that fight ever. As you can see, I was running against a really good split, though. There's like still some RNG in like what attack she ends with, basically. But then this one's kind of scary, but like I've got a little bit of time to save here. This is a headless. This headless is probably the most annoying, I might say. He actually has less health and we've got more damage, so he dies really fast. But because he dies really fast, how should I put this? Basically, he dies fast, but not so fast that there's like no RNG in terms of what attack he picks. But it's fast enough that you can realistically get like no bad, you can avoid the bad attack realistically. And so that means if you do get a bad attack or two bad attacks, then that's really bad, like time loss wise, because he can teleport away like the other headless can. But the thing is that with the other headless, and see, there's instant teleport. So the other headless, if they teleport away, I can't quite kill him in time. But the other headless, if they teleport, then at least the fight is over because you can just like punish the grab to kill them. But see, he only needs one more hit, so I don't benefit from the fight being over. Like, I just lose time because he instantly decided to teleport. And then he could do it in phase 2 again, too, if he wanted. But we don't get that unlucky. But I mean, again, it's like 4-ish seconds per teleport, roughly, that you lose. So just enough that it matters. Like, you're really coming down to the wire. It's the end of the run. I've lost runs there before, for sure. We're still not chilling. So that wasn't chill. And then this still isn't chill because I can basically mess up this strat. That's the only big thing. So I need to shuriken 3 of the monkeys. And then I need to jump. And then I shuriken this monkey while I'm jumping and then immediately get the death blow. That's just an execution thing. Like with nerves, it's easy to miss the death blow and then you lose like 7-ish, 8 seconds depending. I do get unlucky there that he does the stomp there. The stomp just comes out really fast, like it trades with the firecrackers again. So I get staggered, but he's still staggered. So it's not the biggest deal. I can just end the fight there. If you jump kind of far away, you can hit him with the sweet spot and still be out of range of the stomp. But he doesn't usually stomp, and I didn't want to risk it on good pace, because the worst thing would be I get a sour spot. I get the weak spot on the Mortal Blade, and then like that's really bad. So I was like, I'm just going to do the safe thing and hope he doesn't stomp, but he stomped. And I was like, all right, well, heck you, buddy. And then this part's easy, and then the last part is hard. Or not hard, but like you can choke your whole PB away on the last split. So I'm still not chilling. I'm like, okay, don't choke. This is like no more RNG. It's just don't choke. That's all that's left. Don't choke the last split. And I'll explain why the last one's hard. So this is Shichiman. It's the same as the other. I know exactly where to run. I just run over to this spot here. That baits him to teleport over here because I want to make him teleport next to the idol that I need to warp at. So I just circle around him. That's pretty free. And then it's like, okay, don't choke. Don't choke. And I'll explain like how much time you lose. Because this it's really weird too. Because we just have one more Shichiman to fight, that's all. But he's weird. Okay, so this Shichiman, maybe I'll show it. I'll show it and then I'll go back and go over exactly what I'm doing. Because it just looks weird too. This is the one Shichiman that for some reason you can death blow from above, from stealth. I don't know why. But so the problem is that to get him in this vulnerable state where you can death blow him from above requires weirdly specific movement, and I don't know why. So you don't have to do this exactly, but basically you have to go close to him, then far away from him, and then close to him again, but not too fast. And then you also have to jump at the right rough angle. And I don't know why he works this way, but he does. So I jump over here. The boss is this way, if you don't have your bearings here. So the Omega old way was you would run all the way over to this water here and then run back and then jump over. But I found out you can just run over here you jump over roughly by this, and then you do a little loop with while you're using your confetti. If you make too tight of a loop, he won't be vulnerable. So have fun with that. So that's one. So I try to hit this, basically, is my internal benchmark. It's not literally this. Like, you can go a little closer than this. Like, there's different ways to do it. But if you go over, this is the safe way that I do it. I make sure I jump over here, loop over here. Because you don't want to fail this. And then I walk a little bit. Like, if you want to play it Omega safe, you could walk up to these plants here. You don't have to walk quite that much. You do have to walk a little bit. But if you go too fast, if you sprint straight over here, then he will not be vulnerable and you'll just fall. And then the last thing is we sprint, and then it just kind of works out that jumping from there, you just get into your full sprint animation enough that you can do a full jump from right here, which will help you like get the exact right distance over the railing to hit him way below you. Yeah, so the old way was you would run all the way over to the water. Whoops. Oh, that's fine. You'd run all the way over to the water, and then you'd run back, and then you'd jump. Like, you'd stand here, and then you would use your confetti, and then you would jump over. So you could jump from a standing position, and it was, like, free. But, yeah, you can jump from here, and you position it right. And then you also... The last thing is you want to jump to the right of the railing, not to the left. And so what happens if you fail any of that, if you do it wrong, then he won't be vulnerable, you won't get the death blow, you will take the fall damage, and you will get teleported to the top, and he will be aggroed onto you. And you can no longer do the death blow without resetting. If you, like warping back, basically. And if you warp back like that, then you will also like lose your confetti. And so you might even, depending on your routing, you might even have to go back and buy another confetti, basically. So you could just lose so much time, like it will just kill your PB. Like, unless you're like super new, it will just kill your PB right there because you missed that jump, because you don't do it exactly right and he's not vulnerable. So it's only once you get that last jump that you're like, now we're chilling. And then that's time. So that is the run.
Absolutely incredible. Holy smokes. That's wild that it comes down to the very, very end like that you have to be just on the edge of your seat, nervous about if you're going to make it or not.
It's like, yeah, it's like definitely and I mean, imagine, nobody showed me a diagram like that either. Like when I learned it, obviously, too. So it's like so much trial and error to like, to figure out exactly where the lines are. Like, and when you have no idea, like, it's one of those things too. You're like, does it matter? Do I need to walk? And it's like, it does matter, because you won't do it, and then it won't work, and you'll be very sad. I've lost runs to that for sure. like when I was newer. It doesn't happen so much anymore, but I'm still traumatized from it.
I can imagine. Yeah, that's got to be so devastating too, that to be on pace for a PB and lose it at the very, very end like that. Well, thank you so much. Your commentary was super, super informative. Definitely learned a lot from this run. I want to give you an opportunity to let people know where to find you, maybe what you're going to be working on now, if you're still going to be doing these or if you're going to be doing other categories, and anything else you'd like to shout out.
My streaming situation's kind of complicated. I'm not streaming currently. I don't know. You could check out my Twitch or my YouTube. My YouTube is just Spacey L, but I mean I have like 60 subscribers. It's just where I put my PBs. I don't know. I don't want to get too heavy, but like I love running so much, but I don't know. I'd like to be more into streaming at some point, but like my situation is such that what is doable for me right now is running. I can't not run. Mm-hmm. I can't not run. I've been running for about 5 years total. I love it so much. I love this community, like the whole speedrunning community.
Yeah, your passion for the game and for the run definitely really showed tonight. So I appreciate you sharing that with us tonight.
Yeah.
Definitely learned a lot. So keep on chugging along. You are absolutely fantastic. I'm really, really glad that you reached out to me to be on the show tonight. It was definitely a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, it's weird. I still like doing events and stuff, but I don't know, regular streaming sometimes. I just really have to manage my stress levels. Like, it's complicated.
Yeah.
What I will say, what I will shout out is actually go check out the Speed Souls YouTube if you want to see more stuff like this, because at Speed Souls we just had our annual charity marathon and all the VODs are up on YouTube, and I did a marathon run of this. It went really well. I'm very proud of it, but there's like tons of cool runs. And in fact, like since it's like just our community marathon, there's lots of like crazy runs that you wouldn't see at like a normal marathon. Like, I mean, there's the BL4 race, all bosses race for Bloodborne is always like a really fun watch. There's like Dan and Kata did like a PvP. They do a PvP any percent in DS1 every year. That's just super memey. There's a really cool run that they did for the finale of the event that was like a big DS1 1.0 patch. So the original unpatched Xbox version, which like everything like the AI and like a lot of that stuff is like way more aggressive. You get fewer souls and like the balance is generally harsher. That could be a cool kind of thing you could have on your other show, actually, if you wanted to reach out to Regal. I bet you could convince Regal to do that again. And he's really good at it too. But yeah, so go check out Speed Souls, honestly, if you want to look at more of this kind of stuff. And obviously check out Nuke's other show. Check out stay with GDQ, check out other smaller marathons too, because one of the things I love so much about speedrunning is that I mean, how many other communities are there like this where like all of our major events are charity focused, and that means a lot to me as well.
Yeah, and you're right. There's so many, like, obviously I think GDQ is kind of our big one. We all love to come here and watch all the great stuff. But there's so many, as you said, great smaller events too to check out. So love that energy, because we are all a lot of very passionate communities, and there's so much to see out there and so much good content in the speedrunning community. Spacey, thank you so much again for coming on the show. I really enjoyed having you here. Chat, that is it for GDQ Hotfix tonight, but make sure to tune in tomorrow. We've got Challenger approaching, followed by Legally Cute, all starting at 7 p.m. Eastern. Also, make sure to stick around with us because at the end of the show here, we are going to raid someone, so make sure to stick around for that raid. But everyone have a great night, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.